Chapter 1126. To any foreign race, the sunken wood mine at the bottom of the river was an absolute forbidden area. It was an important resource that was related to the prosperity of the race. Even though the Heavenly Fish clan was a small clan in the 11th path, according to Ning Fan's estimation, they also had a reserve of 800 million years of sunken wood, which was no less than 100 gene. This 100 gene was only referring to the sunken wood, which was 800 million years old. The sunken wood, which was younger than this age, could be found everywhere in the underground. There were tens of thousands of gene of sunken wood, which was between 5 to 700 million years old. There were millions of gene of sunken wood, which was between 1 to 400 million years old. As for the sunken wood, which was below 100 million years old, they turned into countless crisscrossing dragon veins which spread under Goyu City, covering an area of several hundred li. To the ancient cultivators, only sunken wood, which was more than 800 million years old, could be used to concoct the limitless pill. The higher the age, the higher the quality of the sunken wood. 800 million years was just a benchmark. In fact, the best material for the limitless pill should be 1 trillion years old and above. The success rate would be higher. At this moment, Ning Fan was in a cell in the underground mine. The walls of the cell were filled with powerful formations of wood elemental power. Due to the high density of the wood elemental power, it even materialized in the air, turning into dark green wooden dragons which were as thick as a thumb. They were moving up and down in the cell. Those wooden dragons were not large in size. However, each of their eyes was extremely ferocious. From time to time, some of them would suddenly try to bite Ning Fan. Given the strength of Ning Fan's physical body, if he did not activate his protective golden light, his flesh would be bitten by these wooden dragons. Ning Fan scanned the area with his spirit sense and realized that those wooden dragons were actually condensed from the wood elemental power in this place for hundreds of millions of years. It was reasonable for the wooden dragons to be stronger after being nourished by the wood elemental power for hundreds of millions of years. After those wooden dragons bite a prisoner, they would extract the essence of the prisoner's flesh and blood, as well as the essence of their abilities. After accumulating for 100,000 years, they could finally share the prisoner's cultivation base and abilities with others. This was the wooden dragon punishment that the few immortal venerables mentioned by the Heavenly Fish clan. This kind of punishment was not only practiced in the Heavenly Fish clan. Almost every other clan had this kind of punishment. Of course, in order to open the underground mine and punish the prisoners, they must first obtain the permission of the quasi-saints under the Great Divine Priest. Otherwise, they would not be able to open the tunnel of the mine. Who would have thought that I would have such a fortuitous encounter, to be imprisoned in the underground mine of Goyu City? The amount of sunken wood in this place is extremely huge. Among them, the sunken wood that is more than 800 million years old can be used to concoct the immeasurable elixir. The younger sunken wood is not very useful. As for the wood dragon in this place, it is condensed from the wood elemental force of the mine for hundreds of millions of years. If I swallow it, it will be very beneficial to the cultivation of my wood yang art. The only problem is that if I take away the 800 million gloomy sunken wood and devour the wood dragon, I might be sensed by other water path quasi-sages. It's one thing to devour the wood dragons. These wood dragons don't have the Boundary River quasi-saints restrictions on them. They are formed naturally. Even if I have to devour these wooden dragons, it's not a problem. What was troublesome was that the 800 million gloomy sunken trees were at the pivot of the overall situation of the mine here. If I use brute force to take away the 800 million gloomy sunken wood, the layout of the earth veins here will be destroyed, and there will be a huge change. At that time, I won't be able to hide it from the eyes and ears of the Boundary River quasi-saints. Ning Fan kept muttering to himself. All of a sudden, he thought of a very common folk game in the mortal world, Huarong Dao. It was a small game that allowed the general to escape from his pursuers by moving the chess pieces around. The thought process that was involved in the game made Ning Fan's eyes light up. Ning Fan activated his heavenly being Law Eye to its maximum. At the same time, he activated the secret word of force to its limit. In his eyes, the overall situation of the mine immediately turned into chess pieces of different sizes with different orbits. If he couldn't use brute force to take away the 800 million gloomy sunken trees that were located at the pivot of the pattern, then he could change the layout of the pattern in a small area, and slowly make the 800 million gloomy sunken trees break away from the center of the pattern. Even some quasi-saints would find it hard to perfectly control the layout of the world in such a fine and detailed manner. If they are not careful, they would destroy the layout of the place. Ningfan, on the other hand, was different. He was one of the few cultivators at the second level of the heavenly being realm during the age of Dharma decline. Moreover, he cultivated the supreme secret word force. Although this matter was difficult for him, it wasn't something that he couldn't accomplish. 1 day passed. 2 days passed. 3 days passed. Ningfan used the overall situation as a chess piece to secretly change the overall situation of the underground of Goyu City. However, no one noticed it. On the 5th day, he moved out the first piece of 800 million gloomy sunken wood from the mine. It was a huge piece of gloomy sunken wood that weighed 5 jin. On the 7th day, Ningfan moved out another 4 jin of 800 million gloomy sunken wood. The 9th day, the 11th day, the 13th day, 1 month had passed. Ningfan had stolen all 800 million gloomy sunken wood from the underground of Goyu City. There was a total of 134 jin of it. With the 800 million gloomy sunken wood in his hands, Ningfan had already collected countless sets of the other materials needed to concoct the limitless pill. As long as he could find a 9th Revolution Gold Core Realm Pill Refinement Master, he would be able to obtain a large number of limitless pills. As a matter of fact, Ningfan had captured quite a number of pill refinement masters of this level, and kept them in his Joss Flame world. In the extreme pill sacred region, which Immortal Emperor did not have a few Gold Core Realm Pill Refinement Masters. In the past, Ningfan had captured the followers of Immortal Emperors without restraint in the extreme pill sacred region, and made them his Joss Flame slaves. Some of them were Gold Core Realm Pill Refinement Masters. However, he did not capture a single pill refinement master of the Sovereign Pill Realm. Therefore, the current Ningfan actually did not lack people to concoct pills for him. Of course, if it's possible, he still hoped to concoct the limitless pill with his own hands instead of asking someone else to do it. Currently, he was already a 9th Revolution Silver Pill Refinement Master. As long as he takes another step forward, he would be qualified to concoct the limitless pill. Speaking of which, I have yet to use the peach branches, peach blossoms and peach fruits that I obtained from that primal core realm old man. Those things seem to be able to greatly enhance a pill refinement master's medicine soul. Ningfan muttered to himself for a while, and made up his mind. Then he looked at the hundreds of wooden dragons that were flying up and down in the cell. With his abilities he captured all of them. Considering that the sudden capture of these wooden dragons would greatly reduce the wood chi of the Een Heavywood mine in this place, Ningfan then set up a small-scale spirit-boosting formation in the cell. Its effect was to stimulate the wood chi of the mine by tens of times. At first glance, the density of the wood chi in Goyu City was still the same as before. Of course, this kind of stimulation had a time limit. Even though Ningfan had used up a lot of rare and precious immortal materials, he could only make the spirit-boosting formation run for 1 to 200 years. When the spirit-boosting formation loses its effect, the things that happened in the Earth vein would certainly be discovered by the Boundary River Realm quasi-saints. However, that would be something that would happen 1 to 200 years later. For the time being, he did not need to worry about the matter being exposed. After doing all of these, Ningfan entered the profound Een world in a flash. After spending half a month, he finally refined all of the hundreds of wooden dragons. Even though his cultivation level did not increase, the Tao of Wood Law of Yin and Yang was much stronger than before. It was slowly approaching the true sovereign realm. Seeing this, Ningfan was naturally overjoyed. One should know that even though the divine demon devil, Yin and Yang that he cultivated possessed a certain level of power at the sovereign realm, it was still far from the might that a true sovereign realm expert should possess, let alone the so-called void of the sovereign realm. Cultivating the divine, demon, devil, Yin and Yang was just the first step. Next, he still needed to cultivate all of his Yin and Yang to the sovereign realm. At that time, the might of the ancient chaos great emperor's 27 Yin and Yang would truly be displayed. How difficult was it to cultivate to the sovereign realm? Of course, It was impossible for Ningfan to directly cultivate to the sovereign realm, just by devouring the hundreds of wooden dragons in this place. Even though the divine wood law of yin and yang was getting closer to the true sovereign realm, the distance between them was still extremely far. Those few immortal venerables and heavenly clusterfish probably would not have thought that the wooden dragons that they used to punish Ningfan would be eaten by Ningfan instead. After devouring the wooden dragons, Ningfan began to refine the peach branches, peach blossoms and peach fruits of the primal pill Great Emperor. After another month, the grade of Ningfan's medicine soul underwent a huge change. His medicine soul, which was originally at the 9 revolutions silver grade, had actually broken through to the 9 revolutions gold grade. In fact, it had even made great strides towards the emperor grade medicine soul. These peach branches, peach blossoms and peach fruits were harvested from the heaven and earth peach tree that the primal pill Great Emperor had spent his entire life to plant. He was reluctant to eat them himself. Hence, he kept them for future use. However, he did not expect that his entire life's efforts would eventually benefit Ningfan. Ningfan was initially surprised by the rapid improvement of his medicine soul. However, after considering that it was the result of the primal pill Great Emperor's lifetime's efforts, he felt that it was reasonable. The medicine soul of the 5-colored butterfly was filled with spirituality. It danced in the profound Yin world. He knew that it was time for him to concoct the measureless pill to improve his cultivation base. His 9th revolution golden grade medicine soul had just broken through, so his realm was still very shallow. However, if he could consolidate it through alchemy, his medicine soul would soon solidify. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Ningfan walked out of the profound Yin world and returned to his cell. After using up all the 800 million Yin sunken wood, he had refined a total of 20 batches of pills, and each batch contained 300 pills. Due to the fact that his medicine soul was unstable, and it was his first time concocting the immeasurable pill, it was hard for him to guarantee his success rate. Out of 10 attempts, he would usually only succeed in 3 to 4 attempts. In the end, he harvested more than 2,000 immeasurable pills. Just the heavenly clusterfish clan, which was an immortal venerate force, had allowed him to obtain 2,000 immeasurable pills for free. Ningfan inwardly guessed that if it was an immortal king force or an immortal emperor force, he would probably be able to obtain tens of thousands of immeasurable pills. For ordinary newly advanced immortal venerables, 2 immeasurable pills could only increase their magic power by 1 tribulation. For an ordinary first tribulation immortal venerable, it would take 4 immeasurable pills to increase their magic power by 1 tribulation. Using the same amount of immeasurable pills to increase the cultivation base of an ancient god, who had already undergone the eternal tribulation, was naturally not as effective as using them to increase the cultivation base of an ancient demon or ancient devil. However, because Ningfan's crippled divine spirit body was too domineering, it would steal the medicinal effects of the immeasurable pills. Thus, after eating more than 2,000 immeasurable pills, the ancient demon's cultivation base only managed to increase its magic power by around 60 tribulations. The ancient demon's cultivation base was still very far away from breaking through the eternal tribulation. However, if Ningfan were to rob a few more clans, it would only be a matter of time before the ancient demon and ancient devil broke through the eternal tribulation. Since the 800 million Yin sunken wood in this place had already been taken away by Ningfan, there was naturally no need for him to stay in this place for a long time. The stone door of the dungeon was sealed by a quasi-saint realm restriction formation. There were only 2 ways to leave the dungeon. One was to break the restriction formation and go out directly. The other was to ask the people outside to burn incense and pray to the quasi-saint of the boundary river. The quasi-saint would then open the restriction formation. Of course, Ningfan was not foolish enough to break the restriction formation of the quasi-saint realm to leave. If he wanted to leave, someone would naturally help him ask the quasi-saint realm to open the door. In the past, before he was imprisoned in the dungeon by the 3 immortal venerables, he had secretly cast an illusion technique on them. That illusion technique would not be activated immediately. It would only be activated when Ningfan needed it. Alright, 3 illusion servants. It's time for you to show up. Open the prison door for me. A demonic light flashed in Ningfan's left eye. He activated the illusion technique across the domain. All of a sudden, the three immortal venerables who were cultivating in seclusion in their respective cave dwellings felt a sharp pain in their sea of consciousness. Then, their eyes became blank and they murmured to themselves, "We need to help Master open the prison door. We need to help Master open the prison door." Then, a scene that none of the members of the heavenly venerables could understand happened. Ningfan, who was imprisoned in the dungeon by the three immortal venerables, was actually released. Moreover, the three immortal venerables even taught Ningfan the contents of the 4th, 5th and 6th volumes of the heavenly sacred scroll. After that, they gave Ningfan a secret mission, asking him to conceal his identity and leave Goyu City to complete the mission in secret. The so-called secret mission was, of course, just a trick to deceive others. It was just a legitimate reason for Ningfan to leave Goyu City. Under the astonished gazes of all the members of the heavenly venerables, the three immortal venerables took out countless precious treasures from the clan's treasury and handed them to Ningfan. The reason was that the secret mission this time was too dangerous, and they needed to provide Ningfan with more resources in order to ensure the success of the mission. Even when Ningfan took away most of the precious resources of the heavenly venerables and left Goyu City openly, no one knew what the secret mission that the three immortal venerables were talking about. As for the three immortal venerables who fell into the illusion technique, they did not realize that they had fallen into the illusion technique at all. Ningfan's illusory technique only distorted the cognition of the three immortal venerables when it came to questions about himself. As for other things, it did not change the slightest bit. Hence, after the three immortal venerables let Ningfan go, they continued to live leisurely like before. They did not feel anything unusual at all. Sometimes, illusion techniques were really useful. In the depths of the nest of the foreign races in the 6th water path, this was the waterway that passed through northern heaven. It was heavily guarded by the foreign races. No one knew that the great divine priest, who was worshipped by countless members of the foreign races in the eastern border river, was currently in the 6th waterway. He was an elderly man with a long beard who held a crescent blade in his hand. His hair was white like a snake and his eyes were purple with double pupils. His body was surrounded by the immense aura force of a second-level quasi-saint. Below him sat 5 first-level quasi-saints. All of them were famous figures in the foreign races. Unlike ordinary members of the foreign races, these quasi-saints had transformed into human form to cultivate. Each of their chi was vast and boundless. In front of the great divine priest and the 5 quasi-saints, ordinary immortal emperors were not qualified to sit at all. They could only stand and discuss matters. The great divine priest would only show up once every half a month to deal with some affairs. Currently, small-scale battles had broken out in all 12 waterways of the eastern border river. Battle reports would be sent back from time to time, and were accumulated there, waiting for the great divine priest's judgment. Report. The Purple Forest Pass of the 5th waterway was breached 3 days ago. The Sea Dragon Pass of the 8th waterway was breached 4 days ago. It doesn't matter. Losing the pass is just a small matter. Everything is still going according to plan. My time is limited, so there's no need to report this kind of news, the great divine priest said indifferently. Report. The crown prince of the dragon horse, Longangua, rushed here from the 10th waterway to borrow the great divine priest's godly sea-calming needle. He has been waiting outside the temple for 7 days. He wants to borrow another treasure? The great divine priest frowned slightly and said unhappily, "Didn't he just borrow my severing fate sword and the cursed gourd? Why does he want to borrow the godly sea-calming needle again?" Great divine priest, I heard that the White King of Hell who caused chaos in the 11th waterway is extremely difficult to deal with. He used a Khanate mid-grade water treasure to break the ambush of Longangua and a dozen other immortal emperors. That's why Longangua came again to borrow the godly sea-calming needle to fight against the opponent's water treasure. Even Lady Aphrodite was captured by the White King of Hell. Her whereabouts are unknown. Oh, a mere immortal sovereign of 10,000 years actually has a Khanate mid-grade treasure? He even captured Aphrodite, a half-step quasi-sage? The great divine priest was visibly moved. I heard he used a bewitching technique. The servant explained. So it was a bewitching technique. Then there's nothing to worry about. However, this White King of Hell is truly audacious. First, he broke the river diagram mirror I used for the sea sacrifice, delaying my plan. Then he captured Aphrodite, a member of the sacrifice. Fortunately, Aphrodite cultivates a mermaid's true spirit. The White King of Hell isn't strong enough to kill her. We can't lose the sacrifice. Since Longangua wants to borrow the godly sea-calming needle, we'll lend it to him. Tell Longangua that I'm very interested in that kid's water treasure. This item can be used as interest for the 2 times he borrowed it. Yes, I'll convey the great divine priest's decree to Longangua. Report. The Heaven Fish clan of the 11th Waterway requests the release of the prisoners in the mine prison. I heard they've already given in. What's going on? The Heaven Fish clan locks people up whenever they want, and releases them whenever they want. Do they think the laws I set are child's play? The great divine priest was obviously displeased. After pondering for a moment, he still said, "Don't report such trivial matters to me in the future. You guys handle it yourselves. I've been fighting against immortal sovereign Zido's seal every day. I'm already mentally and physically exhausted. I don't have the leisure to care about such trivial matters. Inform the 12 waterways that I've already unlocked the seals of the underground formations of each waterway. The clan leaders of each clan can open and close the prison with their own will. Alright. If there's nothing else, I'm going to take a rest." The great divine priest's new order quickly spread across the entire eastern border river. When Ning Fan disguised himself as a Jiangchen fish and snuck into the Jiangchen clan, he happened to hear the Jiangchen fish talking about the new order. In the future, there's no need to inform the quasi-saints of the border river about the opening of the mine prison? Ning Fan was surprised. He was half happy and half worried. He was happy because if there was no need to inform the quasi-saints of the border river, it would undoubtedly be more convenient for him to act. However, he was worried because the higher-ups of the foreign races had no time to deal with the trivial matters of the other clans. Perhaps the foreign races' plan to conquer the eastern sky had already reached a critical moment. That was why they didn't have the time to deal with the trivial matters of the other clans. Forget it. I'll steal the heavy wood of the Jiangchen Fish clan first. The Jiangchen Fish clan was also an immortal venerable force. However, they had more than 100 kilograms of heavy wood, which was more than the Heavenly Cluster Fish clan. Ning Fan had already infiltrated the Jiangchen Fish clan for a few days. Today, the clan leader of the clan was patrolling on the water street when Ning Fan suddenly appeared in front of him. His eyes flashed with demonic light. The clan leader was just at the immortal venerable realm. How could he resist Ning Fan's illusory technique? After a brief moment of confusion, his face suddenly turned sullen, and he yelled at Ning Fan. "Where did this little fish come from? How dare you stand in my way? Are you tired of living? Someone take my token and open the door of the mine prison. Lock this madman inside and kill him with the wooden dragon punishment." Understood. A few stiff-faced Jiangchen fish walked out from the left and right, dragging Ning Fan away and locking him up in the mine prison. The surrounding Jiangchen fish who were watching the scene either laughed or sighed. All of them thought that Ning Fan would definitely die after being locked up in the mine prison. However, they didn't know that Ning Fan was the one who begged for it. 2 months later, Ning Fan robbed all the heavy wood of the Jiangchen Fish clan. However, no one knew that the heavy wood was also robbed of hundreds of wooden dragons that were formed from the wood elemental energy that had been accumulating underground for hundreds of millions of years. When Ning Fan was released, the clan leader of the Jiangchen Fish clan gave Ning Fan a lot of resources like the Heavenly Cluster Fish Immortal Venerables, and sent him away from the clan. A few months later, Ning Fan robbed the Essence Extreme Fish clan. A few months later, the Mount Tai Fish clan also followed the footsteps of the other clans. Ning Fan's wood yin-yang art became stronger and stronger. However, he was still far away from the true sovereign realm. Ning Fan's concoction technique of limitless pills became more and more skillful. He could already successfully concoct 6 to 7 batches out of 10. Ning Fan's ancient demon cultivation base became higher and higher. When he left the Mount Tai Fish clan, he had already consumed more than 20,000 limitless pills. His ancient demon cultivation base finally broke through to the first eternal tribulation. The power of the cataclysm was still terrifying, but Ning Fan still passed it with ease. Everything went smoothly. The only thing that didn't go well was probably the cultivation of the Heaven Goyu. The difficulty of cultivating the fourth volume of the Heaven Goyu was more than 10 times harder than the third volume. Even with the help of the mermaid's tears, it would be difficult for Ning Fan to cultivate the fourth volume within a short period of time. Thus, he decided to put it aside for the time being. On this day, Ning Fan had finished plundering the Mount Tai Fish clan. Just as he was about to find an excuse to leave the clan, the roars of dragons and neighs of horses resounded throughout the entire Mount Tai Fish clan. The clan leader of the Mount Tai Fish clan, who was a 5-tribulation immortal king realm cultivator, immediately led his clan members out of the clan to welcome the guests with reverence. If he was not mistaken, the guests should be influential figures of the Dragon Horse clan. They were not people that a small clan like the Mount Tai Fish clan could afford to offend. Ning Fan was hiding among the welcoming team of the Mount Tai Fish clan. If he was not mistaken, the guest seemed to be an immortal emperor of the Dragon Horse clan. As expected, the guests were the 12th prince of the 16 princes of the Dragon Horse clan. This time, he came to the Mount Tai Fish clan to forcefully recruit troops. My Dragon Horse clan is about to launch a large-scale attack to wash the Lingyun Pass with blood and kill the white-robed king of hell. Your Mount Tai Fish clan has been a subsidiary of my Dragon Horse clan since ancient times. For this battle, you must send 100,000 elite troops to participate in the battle. No mistakes are allowed. Yes. I will certainly send the elite troops of my clan to assist my lord to capture the white-robed king of hell and take revenge. The leader of the Mount Tai Fish clan said with fear and trepidation. Currently, everyone in the 11 water paths knew about the grudge between the Dragon Horse clan and Ning Fan. Out of the 16 princes of the Dragon Horse clan, 7 of them were captured by Ning Fan. This grudge was absolutely irreconcilable. In the eyes of the leader of the Mount Tai Fish clan, the princes must have borrowed some powerful magic treasures to deal with Ning Fan again. No one knew that Ning Fan, who was hated by the princes of the Dragon Horse clan, was currently swimming leisurely under their noses. That 12th prince of the Dragon Horse clan was just a 6th tribulation immortal emperor. How could he see through Ning Fan's disguise? He was ordered by his elder brother to deliver the conscription order to the 10+ medium-sized clans that were dependent on the Dragon Horse clan. The Mount Tai Fish clan was just one of them. Since the order had already been delivered, he did not plan to stay for long. He immediately left for the next subsidiary clan. Only after the 12th prince had left for a long time did the experts of the Mount Tai Fish clan dare to sigh and complain. Everyone knew how terrifying the white-robed king of hell was. Participating in the battle as a subsidiary clan was equivalent to being cannon fodder. Even so, many immortal emperors could not do anything to Ning Fan. What was the use of sending 1 million elite troops from their immortal king clan? For a moment, the Mount Tai Fish clan was shrouded by dark clouds. Ning Fan's eyes flashed. No one knew what he was planning. Speaking of which, the 12th prince of the Dragon Horse clan who came to deliver the conscription order seemed to be alone. Ning Fan smiled coldly. He quietly swam out of the Mount Tai Fish clan and secretly chased after the 12th prince. The reason why the princes of the Dragon Horse clan conscripted a large number of troops to deal with him was probably because they had borrowed the legendary sea-stabilizing divine needle. If the battle starts again, Ning Fan did not have the confidence to defeat more than 10 immortal emperors of foreign races with ease again. He decided to kill a few immortal emperors of the Dragon Horse clan who were alone before the battle began to reduce the number of enemies. This action might expose his identity underwater. However, the benefits were also very obvious. Those immortal emperors of the Dragon Horse clan had let their guard down. Perhaps they would never expect that Ning Fan would actually dare to go underwater and stir up trouble. Chapter 1127. The 12th prince of the Dragon Horse was called Longcheng. He was different from the other brothers. Normally, he did not like to show off his dragon form. Instead, he liked to show off his horse form. After leaving the Jade clan of Mount Tai, Longcheng transformed into a steed with 4 flaming hooves, galloping in the water. He was an immortal emperor of the water race, and he could use the flow of water to move forward. His speed in the water was something that Eastern Sky immortal emperors of the same level could not catch up to. If Ningfan only disguised his cultivation base at the void fragmentation realm, it would naturally be impossible for him to catch up to Long Cheng. Because of this, he had to use some of his real cultivation. Long Cheng was leisurely swimming in the direction of the sea wolf tribe. When he reached a remote area of water, he suddenly frowned, as if he had sensed something. It could be said that his senses weren't wrong. Behind him, there was actually a Mount Tai fish chasing after him, and its speed was terrifyingly fast. Strange too strange. This Mount Taishan fish had such a terrifying speed. It was actually faster than an immortal Varch of the water race like him. The strongest expert of the Mount Taishan fish race was merely an immortal king. How could there be such an expert who was adept at the water evasion? However, with such a fast Taishan fish, wasn't it just right for him? At that moment, Long Cheng was no longer in a hurry to continue his journey. Instead, he stopped in his tracks and waited for Ningfan's arrival calmly. It was difficult for him to conceal the trace of greed in his eyes. The fish clan of Mount Tai was not good at fighting, but they were naturally good at traveling in the water. Their fins and tails were natural treasure crafting materials, which could be used to craft flying treasures. Most of the mutated races didn't care about treasures, but the 12th prince was an exception. Not a bad Mount Tai fish. This fish is so anxious to chase after me. I'm afraid the leader of the Mount Tai fish tribe forgot to tell me something, so he sent him to inform me. In terms of cultivation, this fish seemed to be a celestial paragon fish, not worth mentioning. However, his speed in the water was actually faster than mine. It must be because his fins and tail were of extremely high quality. If he used it to refine a magic treasure, he might even be able to refine a Khanate escape treasure. If that's the case, then I might have to kill him and refine his fins and tail into treasures. As the leader of the Mount Tai fish clan, even if I kill their clansmen in public, the Mount Tai fish clan wouldn't dare to resent me. Of course, it would be even better if he could find a reason to make a move. Let's just say that I killed him in a fit of anger. As Long Cheng had stopped moving, Ningfan caught up to him in just a few breaths' time. One had to admit that the speed of an immortal emperor of the water clan was just too fast in the water. If Long Cheng did not take the initiative to stop, Ningfan would probably have to spend a long time to catch up to him. As soon as he saw Ningfan swimming towards him, Long Cheng said in a deep voice without giving Ningfan any chance to speak. How dare you? How dare you spy on the emperor's tracks and follow me from behind? Is this how your patriarch teaches you? This is simply looking down on this old man's dignity as an immortal emperor. I don't care what message your clan has to pass on to me. Today, I must kill you to teach Mount Tai's fish clan leader a lesson. Without saying a word, he directly attacked Ningfan. As he opened his mouth, countless dark green flame swords shot out from his mouth. Every single one of those tiny swords were the 12 Nirvana flying swords, and there were over 100 of them. Suddenly, they formed a sword formation that whistled through the air, and their power was even stronger than a single innate treasure sword. Ningfan was slightly surprised. He did not understand why the other party would suddenly attack him. The excuse that Long Cheng gave him was really lousy. It could not stand up to scrutiny at all. His eyes, on the other hand, were filled with undisguised greed. Perhaps he had misunderstood something and was plotting against him. Forget it. Is it really important why the other party wants to kill me? Ningfan was too lazy to think about these reasons. After all, he also wanted to kill Long Cheng. Boom! Ningfan opened his mouth and spat out a ray of light. It was actually the sun, moon, and star steels. The power of the two steels was comparable to a mid-grade innate treasure. How could Long Cheng's sword formation compare to it? Wherever the two steels passed, Long Cheng's flying swords were directly smashed into pieces. These two steels. You are white robes. White robes Yama. As soon as Long Cheng saw the sun, moon, and star steels, his heart, which was filled with killing intent just a moment ago, was instantly filled with fear. These two steels were Ningfan's magic treasures. He had personally witnessed Ningfan using these two steels to block the attack of his elder brother's fate-severing sword. It's actually Ningfan. The tiny Mount Tai fish that was following behind him was actually Ningfan, whom the two brothers had been planning to deal with for the past few days. Why is this young man in the water domain? Why can he disguise himself as a Mount Tai fish without being noticed? No, I don't have time to think about these things. This young man is incomparably heaven-defying. The sea-calming divine pillar is not in his hands. If I fight him alone, I will definitely lose. Great evil subduing ring. Longqing opened his mouth and spat out a ray of light at Ningfan. Without looking at the result, he turned around and fled, not even caring about the magic treasures that were attacking Ningfan. While he was fleeing, he instantly sent out hundreds of message-transmitting flying swords, hoping that one of them could reach his brothers and call for their help. Don't you think it's a little too late to leave now? Ningfan sneered and used the sun, moon, and star steels to block the great evil subduing ring's attack. Then, his spirit sense turned into an illusory waterfall that covered an area of several thousand li, directly destroying all of Longcheng's message-transmitting flying swords. Longcheng's great evil subduing ring was a ring-type innate magic treasure. Its power was not bad, but it was much weaker compared to the sun, moon, and star steels. After being smashed a few times by the sun, moon, and star steels, its spiritual nature was greatly damaged. Its treasure light dispersed and it did not have a master to control it. Ningfan directly swallowed it into his stomach and erased the spirit sense imprint within it. All of a sudden, Longqing, who had his magic treasure seized, spurted out a mouthful of blood. However, he did not dare to turn around to check on the great evil subduing ring at all. All he could do was hide the shock in his heart and flee for his life. No. It's impossible. How long has it been since I last met this young man, and his cultivation base seems to have become much stronger again. Moreover, his spirit sense has actually broken through to the waterfall realm. How is this possible? If the Eastern Heaven Immortal Emperor were to face Ningfan, he would certainly not be forced to the point where he could not even send out a message for help. The immortal emperors of the foreign races could only blame themselves for not cultivating their sea of consciousness. Even if they could send out some spirit sense, it was not from their sea of consciousness, but from the senses of their souls. How could this level of spirit sense be a match for Ningfan's waterfall realm spirit sense? It was impossible for him to break through the seal of Ningfan's spirit sense and send out his message-transmitting flying swords. Qi Ningfan swung his fishtail and disappeared from his original spot. At the next moment, he appeared in front of Longqing, blocking his path. Innate dragon fire. Longcheng's face turned pale with fright. He immediately spurted out his natal dragon fire to attack Ningfan. Then he turned around and fled in another direction. While he was fleeing, he sent out countless message-transmitting flying swords for help. However, all of them were blocked by Ningfan's waterfall spirit sense. Using fire techniques in deep water would weaken the power of the technique. Moreover, Ningfan was not afraid of fire attacks. When his opponent's innate dragon fire attacked him, he did not even bother to defend himself. He directly opened his mouth and swallowed his opponent's dragon fire. Then he sneered and chased after Longqing again. Longqing was in despair. He could not defeat Ningfan. His speed was also not as fast as Ningfan. He could not even send out his message for help. In desperation, he suddenly made up his mind and activated his eternal true body. He turned into a 100 zhang tall horse and stomped on Ningfan. The power of that stomp was enough to annihilate all living beings in the water domain within a few million li. Of course, he did not hope to kill Ningfan with such a ferocious attack. Instead, he hoped to create a huge commotion so that the immortal emperors of other races nearby would notice what happened and come to his aid. How could Ningfan not see through Longcheng's plan? He naturally would not let Longcheng's stomp land. Before Longcheng's stomp landed, he directly shot out a ray of sword light and cut off the horse's leg. Fresh blood instantly dyed the water area red. However, due to Ningfan's blockade, the area that was dyed red was very limited. It did not spread far away. Longqing shrieked in pain. He stared at the culprit who cut off his horse's leg in disbelief. The sea-defying sword. There's no mistaking it. This sword was clearly Ningfan's Dao weapon. However, the power of this Dao weapon was actually much stronger than most of the low-grade innate flying swords. Could a Dao weapon that was known to be weak really achieve such terrifying power? Quick! Under Ningfan's rebuke, The sea-defying sword slashed at Longqing again. If it wasn't for Ning Fan's blockade of the surrounding sea area, the entire sea would have been cut apart by the sea-defying sword. Longqing's expression changed drastically. How would he dare to face the sharp light of the sea-defying sword head-on? He turned his body to the side and evaded the attack. However, his back was struck by the sun, moon and star steel. His internal organs were all crushed, and he suffered unspeakable pain. The current Ning Fan relied on his powerful magic treasures. He did not even need to use his eternal true body or activate the cross-shaped halos to take down Longqing. However, in order to end the battle as soon as possible to prevent others from noticing the fluctuations in this place, Ning Fan still activated the cross-shaped halos. Even though Longqing had a mysterious immortal talisman on him which prevented him from moving, Ning Fan still relied on the concentrated attacks of the cross-shaped halos to create a gap. Then, he used hundreds and thousands of high-grade divine abilities to blast Longqing into pieces. That scene was as if hundreds and thousands of cannons were bombarding a mortal's body. The enemy was killed in an instant. In the end, the unlucky 12th Prince Longqing became the 8th Dragon Horse True Spirit that Ning Fan captured. Half of the 16 princes of the Dragon Horse race had already become Ning Fan's captives. Don't be happy too early. My elder brothers have borrowed the sea-steadying divine needle. They will certainly not let you go. The true spirit of Longqing said resentfully after being captured by Ning Fan. As expected, you guys have borrowed a magic treasure that can restrain my water attack. Humph. Are you afraid now? If you're afraid, then release this old man and my brothers. Finally, cripple your own cultivation, and become a servant of my Dragon Horse clan. Perhaps this old man can ask my elder brother to show mercy and spare your life. Ning Fan was speechless. Why are all the princes who have been captured so confident? Could it be that they will only realize that I'm not in existence that they can afford to offend after I capture all of them? Humph. Why aren't you talking anymore? You are indeed afraid. You. Longqing still wanted to talk nonsense, but Ning Fan used his divine ability to torture him. For a moment he was in so much pain that he could not speak. Fear towards Ning Fan grew in his heart, and he no longer dared to speak nonsense. Seeing this, Ning Fan finally stopped the torture. He was too lazy to care about Longqing. However, there was a question that he really wanted to ask Longqing even though the latter probably would not answer him. Your elder brother didn't only send you out to deliver the conscription order to the affiliated clans of the Dragon Horse clan, am I right? Ning Fan asked with a smile. What? What are you trying to do? My elder brother only sent me out. I'm telling you not to have any evil thoughts. Otherwise, you will be cut into pieces by my Dragon Horse clan. Longqing was shocked and denied flatly. However, Ning Fan did not need Longqing's acknowledgement at all. He could tell from his expression. This time, Longqing was definitely not the only one who came out to deliver the conscription order. There should be other princes who were alone. It was because he was afraid that Ning Fan would go and capture the other princes who were alone that Longqing turned pale with fright. All right. You're useless now. Just be a good boy and be locked up with your elder brothers. Ning Fan drew out all the innate dragon flames in Longqing's body and devoured them all. Then he took away the immortal talisman that could restrain the fixed body technique and planted layers of restrictions on him. Only then did he lock him up in the profoundine world. Ning Fan already had 4 of such immortal talismans. They were obtained from the 16th prince, Aphrodite, Yuan Dan and the 12th prince respectively. It was not a one-time item but it had a limited number of uses. It seemed to be an immortal talisman that was specially developed by the foreign race to restrain the fixed body technique. Ning Fan activated his ability and cleaned up the battlefield around him. Then, he took out the treasure-searching compass and searched for the location of the princes with it. The treasure-searching compass was said to be able to search through everything in the world. As long as Ning Fan's Tao of divination was strong enough, the search of the compass would not even be noticed by the other party. The princes who were not strong in spirit sense would not know that their locations had already been exposed to Ning Fan. They turned into light spots and appeared on the compass. The 8 light spots represented the remaining 8 princes. Among them, 5 of the larger light spots were gathered together while the other 3 light spots were scattered in different locations of the 11 water regions. Ning Fan realized that there were probably 3 other princes who had received the same task as Long Cheng. They were in charge of passing the conscription order to the affiliated clans. Ning Fan did not kill Long Cheng, nor did he ask him to send out a voice transmission to ask for help. Thus, it was impossible for the other party to know that the dignified white-robed king of hell was causing trouble in the water. If all of you immortal emperors are gathered together, I might still be a little afraid. However, if you are alone, don't blame me for taking advantage of your perilous state. Ning Fan sneered. He was a devil cultivator in the first place. He had learned from the old devil how to be unscrupulous in every possible way. Naturally, he would not let go of such a heaven-sent opportunity to capture the princes. Silently, Ning Fan swam towards one of the 3 light spots that were alone. A few days later, the eldest prince of the dragon horse race looked gloomy. The 8, 10, 11 and 12 princes he had sent out to pass the conscription order had all gone missing. He sent people to investigate. Eventually, he found traces of battles that had been hidden in the 11 water regions. He deduced that a great battle between immortal emperors had taken place there. What's going on? Who can tell me where my 4 brothers have gone? The eldest prince, Longangua, was burning with anger. Countless members of the water clan below him were his subordinates. Seeing that his subordinates were silent and only knew how to tremble in fear, Longangua became even more furious. After eating dozens of his subordinates, he finally calmed down a little and calmed down a little. Could it be the doing of the Eastern Heavens cultivators? The second prince, Longwu, said in a deep voice. No way. How could the Eastern Heavens cultivators have the ability to dive into the water and capture immortal emperors? You should know that even though the 10th, 11th and 12th brothers are only at the 6th tribulation realm, the 8th brother is at the 7th tribulation realm. Moreover, the battlefield is in our favor. Even if the only 9 tribulation immortal emperor sent by the Eastern Heavens cultivators came here, he definitely won't be able to capture our 4 brothers. Longangua denied. Could it be the white-robed king of hell? The third prince Long Ao asked. Speaking of Ning Fan, Longangua hesitated. In his mind, Ning Fan seemed to be able to do something that even the 9 tribulation immortal emperor of the Eastern Heaven couldn't do. This didn't mean that Ning Fan's strength had already surpassed the 9 tribulation immortal emperor, but his endless means were too hard to guard against. No, it's still not possible. That white-robed king of hell is an Eastern Heavens cultivator after all. It's impossible for him to dive into the water without being noticed. Unfortunately, the battlefield has been cleaned up by someone. It's impossible to collect the fragments from the heaven and earth to observe them. Don't let me know who did this, or else this old man will tear him to pieces. Hateful, truly hateful. Longangua said hatefully. How could he not hate? Ning Fan had captured 7 of his brothers, and now 4 of them were missing. Out of the 16 princes of the dragon horse, only 5 were left. How could he not feel sad? Could it be divine concealment? The 4th prince's dragon carriage suddenly revealed a look of fear. As soon as he said this, not only him, but everyone here also revealed a look of fear, including the 9 tribulation immortal emperor Longangua. There was a clan in the 11th path called the Heavenly Shadow Clan. The secret technique that they were proud of was called divine concealment. However, what everyone was afraid of now was not the divine concealment of the Heavenly Shadow Clan, but the source of the clan's secret technique, the truly terrifying existence. If it's divine concealment, even if my 4 brothers are immortal emperors, they won't be able to resist that monster. It's not strange for them to disappear mysteriously. However, if that monster took action, how could it give my 4 brothers the chance to resist? There shouldn't be any traces left behind. Longangua shook his head, but his expression betrayed his inner thoughts. Obviously, he was somewhat convinced by the theory of divine concealment. I have a good friend who is under the command of the great divine priest. He visited me some time ago and told me that the blood god is in a weakened state. If it wasn't for that, the great divine priest wouldn't have dragged on with the Eastern Heavens cultivators, and would have launched an all-out war. Once the blood god appears, even the Eastern Heavens Xiangbozi, Ho-Tu and Musang would have to flee. The sixth prince pondered for a long time, and finally decided to tell them about it. Hearing this, the expressions of Longangwa and the others changed greatly. Weakened state? Could it be that the blood god is eating in order to get through his weakened state? If that's the case, I'm afraid my four brothers won't be able to keep their immortal emperor cultivation. Even if they are released by Lord Blood God in the end, they won't be able to keep their previous realm. Damn the blood god, how dare he attack my brothers? Hateful, hateful. The second prince cursed. Second brother, don't talk nonsense. Did you forget that there was a first-stage quasi-saint in the ninth water region who was eaten alive, because he casually cursed the blood god? That's not something you and I can talk about. That's an ancient great cultivator, Longangwa said with a pale face. That year, he happened to see that quasi-saint being eaten with his own eyes. Naturally, he was especially afraid of that scene. Big brother is right. I was too reckless. The second prince cursed out of anger. After he finished cursing, he remembered how terrifying the blood god was, and didn't dare to say anything else. For a moment, the place fell into a strange silence. The atmosphere was unprecedentedly heavy. After a long time, Longangwa clenched his teeth and said unwillingly, "If it's really divine concealment, I'm afraid my four brothers can't be saved. We can only give up for now. But after losing four brothers, we, the Dragon Horse Crown Prince, are only left with 5 people. Our power is unprecedentedly weak. In this way, it's even more necessary to save our 7 brothers who are trapped in the enemy's hands. Have the conscription orders that Little 8 and the others haven't finished sending out been sent to the various clans?" They've all been sent. This time, only the immortal primes and immortal kings were sent to send the orders. It should have been like this long ago. If we gather together, even the blood god will have to be cautious. It's impossible for him to attack us while he's weak. Longangwa said in hindsight. The few brothers didn't dare to argue with Longangwa, who couldn't vent his anger. They only cursed in their hearts. Who would have thought that a dignified immortal emperor would be divine concealment by Lord Blood God when he went out to send an order? Could it be that immortal emperors who had cultivated to the peak of the second step had to be overcautious when going out? Of course, if they knew this would happen, they should have been cautious. Thinking of this, the few Dragon Horse Crown princes felt a little lucky. Fortunately, they weren't the ones who went out to send the orders. Otherwise, wouldn't they be the ones who were divine concealment? By the way, how many immortal emperors from the other clans are willing to help us deal with the white-robed Yama this time? Longangwa asked his subordinates. As soon as he asked this question, everyone looked at each other, not knowing how to answer. Eventually, under Longangwa's fierce gaze, someone finally couldn't bear the pressure and told the truth. Previously, when Lord invited immortal emperors to deal with the white-robed Yama, a total of 33 immortal emperors came to help. Limited by the seal of the Realm River, only a few immortal emperors came out to help. This time, there are only 5 immortal emperors who are willing to participate in this matter. They all said that the great divine priest's important matter is imminent, and it's not appropriate to fight for a white-robed Yama. They are afraid of that kid Ningfan's beating. Do they really think that I will be defeated by him again this time? Short-sighted. Extremely short-sighted. Don't they know that I have borrowed the sea-steadying divine needle this time? I have 2 mid-grade innate magic treasures in my hands. Even if I encounter a quasi-saint realm expert, I can still put up a fight. Just a kid like Ningfan who has lost his heaven-defying water attack. Why would I be afraid of him? I'll kill him just like a chicken. Longangwa was enraged. He was angry at how cold-blooded people were. When there's a good thing, they would come and get involved. When there's danger, they would sweep away the snow in front of their own door. However, Longangwa didn't think about it. If his identity was swapped, he probably wouldn't be willing to take the risk for an outsider either. Who doesn't know that Ningfan is the last person in the Eastern Sky Alliance's army? How many more days will the 5 fellow Taoists who are going to help us arrive? 3 days. They said that they will come to help Lord if you give them 3 more days to prepare. Good. This time, even though we only have 10 immortal emperors, with the sea-steadying divine needle, It shouldn't be difficult to take down Ning Fan. Inform the affiliated clans of my clan that the army can start gathering. After capturing another 4 dragon horse immortal emperors, Ning Fan did not immediately blend into the other clans. Instead, he continued to stay in Mount Tai's Fish Clan, planning to respond to the Fish Clan's recruitment. Those dragon horse crown princes would probably never expect that the white-robed Yama whom they want to deal with was not in the cloud-soaring pass, but was hiding in their own camp. Ning Fan's hiding was not without reason. Wasn't the sea-steadying divine needle the enemy was relying on? He decided to hide behind the dragon horse crown princes and launch a sneak attack on them. He would attack whoever possesses the sea-steadying divine needle and snatch it away at all costs. Without this item, it doesn't matter how many immortal emperors there are. Once the water is flooded, all the enemies will be killed. Chapter 1128. The 11th Waterway, Lingyun Pass. Due to the fact that Ning Fan had captured several immortal emperors in a row, the 11 groups of foreign races were deeply shaken. None of them dared to come out of the water recklessly anymore. Occasionally, they would come to attack the soaring cloud pass, but they would only send small groups of attacks to harass the pass. They could not even break through the defense of the formation. Thus, there was no need for the cultivators guarding the pass to come out personally. Counting the time, it had already been close to a year since Lingyun Pass had been this peaceful. During Ning Fan's absence, all the matters in Lingyun Pass would be decided by Wanderer Golden Wind. Hermit Golden Wind was one of the 3 immortal venerables who followed Ning Fan to the expedition. The other 2 immortal venerables were Madame Shyflower and Revered Dragon. Lady Shyflower had already died in battle, so naturally, she could not help to defend the pass. As for the venerable dragon, his physical body had been destroyed due to his severe injuries, leaving only his primordial spirit. During the 1 year that Ning Fan had been hiding at the bottom of the river, the great heavenly tribulation that the venerated dragon transformation realm cultivator had been suppressing for many years finally could not be suppressed any longer. If his physical body wasn't destroyed, he would have a 60 to 70% chance of surviving the great heavenly tribulation. But now that he was heavily injured, he didn't even have a 20% chance. In the end, the dragon transformation venerable barely managed to overcome the tribulation, but he died in the great heavenly tribulation and turned into ashes. Jin Feng Hermit's face was as gloomy as water. Eastern Sky was originally a land of war, and he was accustomed to fighting and killing since he was young. Regarding the fall of his comrades, he should have been indifferent. Even though he did not have a close relationship with those cultivators who had died in the Boundary River, he still felt sympathy for them. All of a sudden, a scout came and reported, "Sir, the brothers who are responsible for scouting the water area have discovered irregular waves from the southwest of the cloud-soaring pass. It seems that a large number of non-humankind beings have come out of the water." Golden Wind Hermit's expression changed as he asked, "Can you determine the exact number of enemies?" "No, no less than 10 million. "What? There were actually so many strange races coming out of the water. How was this possible? With such a large number of foreign races, it's impossible for there to be no foreign race immortal emperor commanding them. It seems like the other party wants to flatten our Lingyun Pass in one fell swoop. Men, quickly burn incense and pray for General Ning to return to guard the pass." Hermit Golden Wind did not think that he would be able to deal with a foreign race immortal emperor with his puny cultivation. Although Ning Fan said that he could summon him back if there was anything important, Jin Feng Hermit wasn't sure how long it would take for Ning Fan to return. His heart was gloomy, and he ordered several hundred more scouts to investigate in the direction of Cloud-Soaring Pass. But before those scouts could set off, countless bubbles suddenly appeared in the southwest direction, and the waves became turbulent. Not long after, gigantic beasts emerged from the depths of the water and floated to the surface. As far as the eye could see, there was a dense mass of outsiders, and their army stretched for hundreds of miles. The entire Lingyun Pass was in chaos. The number of enemies was no less than 10 million. What was even more shocking was that the enemy's formation was strict. In the center of the army, there were 10 immortal emperors. "It's over. It was all over. The other party actually has 10 immortal emperors, We can't hold them off. We have to defend even if we can't. As long as we defend until General Ning returns, we will still have a chance to live. Fight. Everyone, climb up the city walls and inject your magic power into the formation to strengthen the defense of the formation. Full defense. Full defense. There were less than 1,000 cultivators guarding Cloud Soaring Pass, and they seemed to be extremely insignificant in front of the foreign race army. However, their morale hadn't completely collapsed at this moment. It was only because there was one person in the pass who gave them boundless confidence, telling them that the immortal emperors of the foreign races were not scary. Although that person hadn't returned yet, as long as they could wait until he returned, the foreign races had nothing to be afraid of. Attack. Longangua gave the order, and the foreign race army immediately attacked Cloud Soaring Pass like a tide. Cloud Soaring Pass's formation was very powerful, and even immortal emperors could be repelled. Killing ordinary foreign races was simply like cutting melons and vegetables. Hundreds and thousands of low-level foreign races were killed by the formation. Their corpses sank into the water, and their blood dyed the surface of the river red. But there were even more foreign races that advanced wave after wave, as if they didn't know the terror of death. These foreign race immortal emperors are very cunning. They don't want to face the power of the formation. They want to take the lives of the low-level foreign races and exhaust the power of the formation. Golden Wind Hermit clenched his teeth. He could see the opponent's plan, but he couldn't stop it. After the foreign races had sacrificed 100,000 lives, Cloud Soaring Pass's formation began to weaken. After the foreign races had lost 400,000 people, cracks began to appear in Cloud Soaring Pass's formation. More and more Eastern Sky cultivators' magic power was insufficient, and they were powerless to support the formation. More and more cracks appeared in the formation. Completely breaking it was only a matter of time. Lord, what should we do? The formation can only hold on for 100 breaths at most. I'm afraid General Ning won't be able to come back in time. Some Eastern Sky cultivators' faces were filled with despair. Golden Wind Hermit gritted his teeth and said fiercely, "Since I came to participate in the Alliance meeting, I've long been prepared to die in battle here. This pass can't be defended anymore. You all should escape by yourselves. I'll buy you some time to escape." After hearing what he said, all the Eastern Sky cultivators were silent. But not long after, their eyes were ignited with fighting intent. "If Lord doesn't leave, we won't leave either." Golden Wind Hermit was silent, then he laughed loudly. "Good. Let's fight to the death together. We won't disappoint our comrades. We won't disappoint our comrades. We won't retreat until we die. We won't retreat until we die." This group of Eastern Sky cultivators was obviously weak, but the fighting intent they emitted at this moment was shocking. If the formation was broken, they would stake everything on one throw and attack the enemy's formation with thousands of troops. Ningfan, who was hiding among the foreign race's army, sighed with emotion. The cultivators of the four heavens in the lawless age certainly had a lot of shortcomings, such as selfishness, utilitarianism, greed. But they were not completely useless. At least, they still retained the courage of their ancestors. That was the glory of Zido, Immortal Cultivator, who would die unyieldingly. Life and death were all for Zido, Immortal Cultivator. The grand formation would be broken in another 70 to 80 breaths. Ningfan naturally would not watch the soaring cloud pass turn into a river of blood. He blended into the battle formation of Mount Tai Fish. His spirit sense, however, turned into rain and mist, locking on to the foreign race's army. There were 10 immortal emperors, including the Dragon Horse Immortal Emperor, guarding the place. There was also a gigantic pillar that towered to the sky. It was several hundred zhang tall, and was carried by a gigantic tortoise with a quasi-emperor realm cultivation base. That gigantic pillar seemed to be an antique. It was extremely old and covered with rust. Under the cover of the rust, not a trace of treasure light could be seen. Moreover, that iron pillar seemed to be extremely heavy. One had to know that the one who was responsible for carrying the pillar was a mountain-moving tortoise that was famous for its strength. An immortal venerable mountain-moving tortoise could carry several cultivation planets on its back. A mountain-moving tortoise with a quasi-emperor realm cultivation base could at least carry a few sea-defying swords and travel at high speed. At this moment, however, this quasi-emperor mountain-moving tortoise seemed to be struggling. Obviously, the weight of the iron pillar on its back was somewhat beyond its control. If ordinary immortal emperors were to sense it, most of them would not be able to identify the specific grade of this iron pillar. However, with Ning Fan's eyesight and senses, he could naturally sense the massive power contained within this iron pillar. It was not just heavy, low-grade innate realm. No, it should be mid-grade innate realm. Even though Ning Fan's senses could not be 100% accurate with the layers of rust on it, he was 80 to 90% confident that it was a mid-grade innate realm magic treasure. However, he did not have much confidence that this item was the sea-calming divine needle. Divine needle. Judging from its name, it should be a small object. How could it be such a gigantic iron pillar? It was obviously just an iron pillar. If it was named as a needle, it seemed a little unreasonable. However, there was indeed a massive water-sealing force within this iron pillar. It was almost enough to suppress the full power of the water flood bottle. It was incomparably powerful. Ning Fan's eyes flickered. He seemed to be hesitating. Seeing that the grand formation was about to be broken, he knew that he did not have much time to hesitate. He suddenly turned around and pretended to be injured by the formation of the Lingyun Pass. With a fearful look on his face, he quietly swam towards the center of the army where the mountain-moving tortoise was. Some high-grade foreign races who were in charge of guarding the center of the army naturally noticed Ning Fan's approach. All of them frowned. From their point of view, Ning Fan was just a deserter. He was just injured by the formation of the Lingyun Pass. Now he actually fled towards the center of the army. He deserved to be killed. Little fish of Mount Tai, return to the battlefield at once. Otherwise, you will be killed without mercy. Among the guards in the center of the army, an immortal king realm expert from the Thundershark clan flashed with killing intent and warned Ning Fan. Ning Fan, on the other hand, seemed to be scared out of his wits by the grand formation of the Lingyun Pass. He completely ignored the warning of the immortal king of the Thundershark clan and continued swimming towards the center of the army. Upon seeing that, the immortal king of the Thundershark clan sneered. He opened his mouth and breathed out a purple divine lightning, striking Ning Fan into countless charred pieces of flesh. The pieces of flesh flew towards the center of the army. However, no one paid any attention to them. Moreover, no one noticed that one of the pieces of flesh flew towards the direction of the mountain-moving tortoise, seemingly unintentionally or unintentionally. When the mountain-moving tortoise saw a large piece of Mount Tai's flesh flying towards it, it drooled greedily and swallowed the piece of flesh into its stomach. Not only did the mountain-moving tortoise love to eat human flesh, but it also loved to eat fish meat. Fish meat that was smooth and tender like Mount Tai was one of its favorite delicacies. Of course, the mountain-moving tortoise would not eat it. It was just casually eating a piece of fish meat, and it actually caused a disaster. In the past, there would occasionally be carcasses of the fish clan flying towards it. However, it would always gobble them up without any mishaps. This time, however, something happened. He suddenly felt a sharp pain coming from his abdomen. It was not an ordinary sharp pain. Instead, it was as if something was wantonly destroying his internal organs. One should know that as the mountain-moving tortoise, his internal organs were already as hard as magical treasures. However, at this moment, countless of his internal organs were destroyed by a small piece of fish meat. He seemed to have realized something. His face was filled with fear, and he wanted to vomit out the burnt fish meat that he had swallowed earlier. However, it was already too late. As a ray of sword light shot towards the sky, the gluttonous mountain-moving tortoise was cut into half from the inside out. It died with everlasting regret. That piece of burnt fish meat flew out from the mountain-moving tortoise's body. Under the shocked gazes of countless experts of the foreign races, it shook its body and turned into Ning Fan. He was dressed in white robes and had a peerless elegance. However, his expression was as cold as ice from the netherworld. This needle belongs to me now. Ning Fan wanted to snatch the needle away, but his expression suddenly changed. He realized that he could not store the needle into his profound Yin world. He wanted to use his physical strength to take the needle away, But he realized that he could not even lift the sea-calming divine needle with his current strength. It was not easy for him to disguise himself and get close to the needle. Initially, he wanted to snatch it away, but he realized that he could not do so. The opportunity was fleeting. The angry roars of countless foreign races could be heard beside him. It's the white-robed Yama. Be careful. He wants to snatch the sea-calming divine needle. Take him down. Kill him. We can't let him snatch the needle away. Even the group of immortal emperors were shocked. They did not expect that Ning Fan would approach them in disguise and snatch the needle away. This was the only thing that they had that could deal with Ning Fan. If it was snatched away, the consequences would be unimaginable. Only Longonghua did not panic when Ning Fan tried to snatch the needle away. He had never underestimated Ning Fan. He firmly believed that with Ning Fan's capabilities, he would be able to find out that he was coming for a large-scale attack from some channels, and prepare the sea-calming divine needle, which was a magical treasure that could restrain him. He had even rehearsed this battle countless times in his mind. Every time, he would consider the worst scenario, and think of all the ways that Ning Fan could use to deal with the sea-calming divine needle. He had considered the possibility that Ning Fan might have a certain item that could restrain the sea-calming divine needle. If that was the case, he could only accept his fate. He had considered the possibility that Ning Fan would sneak over to steal the sea-calming divine needle. If that was the case, he would set up a trap to trick Ning Fan into stealing the needle. However, he did not expect that Ning Fan would disguise himself as a Mount Tai fish and approach the sea-calming divine needle stealthily. As a result, the invisibility formation that he had set up in the surroundings had lost its effect. However, it did not matter. No matter how Ning Fan approached the sea-calming divine needle, he had prepared a backup plan. First of all, the sea-calming divine needle could not be kept in the space of the treasure. Secondly, the sea-calming divine needle was extremely heavy. In fact, even a quasi-emperor mountain-moving turtle would not be able to move it. Even a 9-tribulation immortal emperor, like him, could not move the sea-calming divine needle by himself. When he went to borrow the sea-calming divine needle, he had to ask for the help of another 9-tribulation immortal emperor under the great divine priest. Both of them worked together to move the sea-calming divine needle back. That quasi-emperor mountain-moving turtle had actually consumed a pill that damaged its foundation and stimulated its potential. That was why it could exert 10 times its strength in a short period of time. That was how it managed to move the sea-calming divine needle. However, Ning Fan definitely could not move it. Even if this brat approached the treasure with schemes, he would not be able to take it away. Rumble. The sea-calming divine needle that had lost the weight of the mountain-moving turtle fell from the ground and into the water. However, under Longongwa's secret technique, the needle only sank into the water surface of the boundary river. It did not sink completely. Instead, it floated strangely on the surface of the water. Longongwa did not give Ning Fan any time to hesitate. Once again, he activated his divine ability. The space around Ning Fan cracked open all of a sudden. Then, countless immortal binding chains shot out from the cracks and bound Ning Fan tightly. Ning Fan, who was bound by the immortal binding chains, seemed very shocked. He looked at Longongwa with a face full of disbelief. He wanted to activate his magic power, but all of his magic power was sealed by the immortal binding chains. He was like a cripple. Longongwa only needed to use a small trick to capture Ning Fan. Finally, the shadow in his heart was swept away. Hehe. What bullshit, white-robed Yama. Just SOSO. This old man only needed to use a small trick to capture you. You thought that I would use the sea-calming divine needle to deal with your water realm. However, you didn't expect that I would use the sea-calming divine needle as a bait to ambush you. You were too careless. Little bastard. That's right. I was really too careless. Ning Fan's face was filled with despair. While Ning Fan was in despair, all the Eastern Heaven immortal cultivators in the entire Cloud Soaring Pass had also fallen into despair. Originally, when they found out that Ning Fan had suddenly appeared and killed a mountain-moving turtle, they were very happy. However, as soon as Ning Fan appeared, he was captured by the enemy immortal emperor. This was a great blow to them, as if the last trace of hope in their hearts had been extinguished. How could this be? Lord Ning Fan was so powerful. How could he be captured by the enemy in a single move? No. They were wrong. Their expectations of Lord Ningfan were too high. They shouldn't have given Lord Ningfan such a heavy burden and pressure. No matter how great Lord Ningfan's battle achievements were, he was still just an ancient immortal venerable. When the enemy saw through all of Lord Ningfan's tricks and restrained them, he could only rely on his own cultivation base to win the battle. He had no advantage at all. As an ancient immortal venerable, Lord Ningfan had always done enough, and he was good enough. On the contrary, it was them, his subordinates, who were too weak and incompetent. That was why they kept dragging Lord Ningfan down. If there was someone among them who could fight against the enemy immortal emperor like Lord Ningfan, they would be able to rescue Lord Ningfan even if he was captured. However, they could not save Ningfan. They could only watch Ningfan fall into the enemy's hands. Suddenly, Hermit Golden Wind's eyes were filled with the determination to die. Yes, he did not have the ability to save Ningfan. However, this was not the reason why he should not go and rescue Ningfan. Whether he could do it or not was one thing. Whether he could do it or not was another. I want to kill my way into the enemy's army and rescue General Ning. If you are not afraid of death, follow me. I'll go. I'll go too. Count me in. Just as Hermit Golden Wind gave the order to remove the formation of the cloud-soaring pass, something strange happened. Ningfan, who was tied up by the immortal binding rope, suddenly turned into a ray of light and exploded. At the same time, Longangua, who was still laughing heartily just a moment ago, was pierced by a sharp sword that was inlaid with heavenly magatama. Then, 1,000 rays of dazzling divine light from the heavenly magatama exploded inside Longangua's iron dragon body with a loud bang. Before Longangua could even react, his physical body was already destroyed by Ningfan's sword. Every slash of the ocean-defying sword that was inlaid with the heavenly magatama contained endless explosive force. This was the power that the heavenly magatama carried. This power might not be enough to damage the iron skin of an immortal emperor, but if it explodes from the inside, even a 9 tribulation immortal emperor would not be able to withstand it. The heavenly magatama. How could this be? Blood mist filled the air. Longangua's true spirit fled in a panic, narrowly avoiding Ningfan's next slash. There was a mysterious immortal talisman on the chest of his true spirit. His small face was filled with astonishment, anger and hatred. He did not understand. He did not understand. He was the one who had schemed against Ningfan. However, why did Ningfan turn the tables on him, and even his physical body was destroyed? Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Since his physical body was destroyed, the strength that he could exert now was similar to that of an ordinary 8 tribulation immortal emperor. Moreover, due to the injury of his true spirit, he could not use too much magic power. Otherwise, his foundation would definitely be damaged. Even though the sea-steadying divine needle was not taken away, he could not display his 9 tribulation immortal strength that could suppress Ningfan for the time being. It was hard to say whether he would gain or lose. I have clearly set up an invisibility formation in the surroundings. How did you sneak up to me? It's impossible for you to be invisible. Ningfan sneered. He was not an idiot. Why would he chat with the enemy on the battlefield and give them a chance to launch a sneak attack on him? The one who was captured was the fake body that he had created using an illusion technique. His true body was hiding at a distance. Longangua and the others thought that they had captured him. Feeling overjoyed, they naturally relaxed their minds for a moment. It was at this moment that Ningfan seized the opportunity to cast an illusion technique on everyone. He walked to Longangua's back openly and stabbed him with his sword. He did not conceal himself. Thus, the formation that could suppress invisibility in the surroundings naturally would not give off any alarm. If Longangua did not think that he had captured Ningfan and let his guard down, Ningfan's current attainments in illusion technique would not be enough to cast an illusion technique on such an existence. Moreover, even if he cast a verbal technique, it would not be possible for him to fool them for too long. However, he could still do it for a short moment. It was still enough for him to slash Longangua with his sword. Seeing that Ningfan was not captured but severely injured the immortal emperor with the highest cultivation base on the enemy's side, The people below the Lingyun Pass burst into thunderous cheers. The General Ning whom they respected did not disappoint them. Being captured was just an illusion. Injuring a 9-tribulation immortal emperor with a single sword strike was the reality. General Ning is mighty. Lord Ning Fan is mighty. His Highness Sha Di is invincible. Reign Immortal Monarch is invincible. Unlike the thunderous cheers in the Lingyun Pass, the army of the foreign races fell into a strange silence after Ning Fan severely injured Long Ongwa with a single sword strike. There were more than 10 million low-grade foreign races. Each of them was intimidated by Ning Fan's monstrous baleful qi. None of them dared to move recklessly. There were also many giant beasts who could not withstand Ning Fan's ferocious aura force and trembled uncontrollably. Long Ongwa's true spirit's small face was filled with ferocity. Seeing that Ning Fan actually did not care about him, his expression became even more distorted. He wished he could eat Ning Fan's flesh and blood and gnaw Ning Fan's bones. One should know that most of his abilities were based on his physical body. Even if he recultivates his physical body, his cultivation base and abilities would more or less be weakened. Even if he kills Ning Fan today, it would not be enough to dispel this hatred. This hatred was even heavier than when his brothers were captured by Ning Fan. Kill. There's no need to care about the ants in the Lingyun Pass. It's enough for me to just kill this man. If I don't kill him, I won't be able to eat and sleep in peace. Yes. As Long Ongwa gave his order, the formation of the army of 10 million foreign races changed drastically. Countless abilities formed into a formation and bombarded Ning Fan. The Dragon Horse Crown Prince and the other 8 immortal emperors even tried to find a gap to attack Ning Fan under the torrential attacks of tens of millions of abilities. Long Ongwa did not participate in the attack. Currently, he had lost his physical body and only had his true spirit left. It was not suitable for him to use too much magic power. However, he did not mind personally tearing Ning Fan into pieces. Close your eyes. It was Ning Fan's telepathic message to every cultivator in the Lingyun Pass. Relying on his speed, Ning Fan directly flashed several hundred li away from the formation of the foreign races, causing countless attacks to miss their target. If they were immortal emperors' attacks that locked onto him with their magic power, it would be difficult for him to dodge. However, if they were just low-grade foreign races, what use would it be no matter how many of them there were? Perhaps if he stood still, he would be killed by the joint attack of tens of millions of foreign races. However, why did he not move? Why did he let them focus their attacks on him? Why did he not dodge? At the same time, Ning Fan raised his hand and summoned the immemorial lightning cauldron. As soon as the cauldron appeared, all the immortal emperors including Long Ongwa were shocked. Without saying a word, they closed their eyes. Many experts of the foreign races had heard about the immemorial lightning cauldron in advance and were prepared for it. At this moment, they also closed their eyes. However, there were still millions of foreign races who did not have the time to close their eyes. When unimaginably dazzling lightning flashed, millions of gigantic foreign beasts were blinded by the lightning, and their spirit sense was penetrated. Even though his attack succeeded, Ning Fan did not plan to remove the immemorial lightning cauldron. He could not steal the sea-steadying divine needle. As long as this needle was still standing there, his water-flooding bottle would be restrained, and he would not be able to use his attacks. In this way, even though he managed to destroy the physical body of the strongest immortal emperors on the opposing side with a sneak attack, he was still at a great disadvantage. After all, his opponents were 10 immortal emperors who had specifically defended against him. He could not guarantee how many of the abilities he had used were restrained by them. In this case, he had to find his own advantage and find a chance to win. The immemorial lightning cauldron was where his chance to win lay. As long as the lightning light of the immemorial lightning cauldron is activated, no one would be able to open their eyes and use their spirit sense. Everyone would be blinded. To the foreign races, recklessly releasing abilities would only hurt their own people. It would be difficult for them to hit Ning Fan. However, Ning Fan was different. Although he was outnumbered, he had an advantage at this moment. Being in the middle of an army of tens of millions of people, if the other party wants to hit him with a single ability, the probability of it hitting him was almost 1 in 10 million. If they release a group attack, It would affect their own soldiers and cause a large number of casualties on their side. Ning Fan, on the other hand, did not have such concerns. There were no cultivators from the Eastern Heaven among the army of 10 million foreign races. He just randomly chose a direction to release his abilities, and those he killed were all his enemies. Cross-shaped halos, activate. Eternal True Body, activate. Steel of Sun, Moon and Stars, smash as much as you want. Ocean-defying sword, slash as much as you want. Wondrous Tree of 7 Treasures, sweep as much as you want. Ning Fan activated his abilities. Screams of agony resounded in the surroundings. In the dazzling lightning light, Ning Fan did not dare to open his eyes. He did not know who and how many people he had killed. Since they were all enemies, it did not matter. I can kill to my heart's content even with my eyes closed. Longangua and the others, on the other hand, were dumbfounded. They tried to locate Ning Fan's location with their hearing, and closed their eyes to release their attacks at the place where the screams were the most. However, these attacks usually could not hit Ning Fan and could only hurt their own people. Even if they accidentally hit Ning Fan, they would be blocked by Ning Fan's heaven-defying eternal true body without suffering any injuries. All the immortal emperors of the foreign races felt aggrieved. Even though they did not care about the lives of their subordinates, being forced by the enemy to kill their subordinates with their own hands was still as uncomfortable as eating a fly's feces. Don't worry. This kind of dazzling lightning light will certainly not last for long. This is the large-scale lightning light released by a mid-grade innate magic treasure. How much magic power does this young man have? How is it possible for him to release it for a long time? Once his lightning light stops, we will focus our attacks on him and kill him. Longangua said confidently. Unfortunately, Ning Fan had unlimited magic power under the state of the cross-shaped halo. Unless his mental strength is depleted, he could keep this lightning light that was close to cheating on him. As for the depletion of his mental strength, Ning Fan, who still had a large amount of spirit recovering rice, was not worried at all. He wanted to cheat. He wanted to be despicable and shameless. Why could the enemy send out 10 immortal emperors to attack him, but he could not fight back? He wanted to inflict pain on the enemy's army. He wanted to make the foreign races bleed like a river. He wanted to make the people who plotted against him pay the price. The time it takes for an incense stick to burn past. The time it takes for 2 incense sticks to burn past. The lightning light did not weaken at all. Longangua was unwilling to admit it, but he had to admit that Ning Fan's magic power was too vast. It was abnormal. Even a 9 tribulation immortal emperor would not be able to use a mid-grade innate magic treasure for such a long time. Unfortunately, their research on the cross-shaped halo was limited. They only knew how to fix his body and focus their attacks on him. However, they did not know that the cross-shaped halo could also grant Ning Fan unlimited magic power. Seeing that there was no end to the lightning light and no one knew how long it would take for it to disappear, even though Longangua was unwilling, he had no choice but to order the low-grade foreign races army to temporarily return to the bottom of the water and withdraw from this battle. With the immemorial lightning cauldron here, those low-grade foreign races could no longer provide any help. It was no longer possible for them to win a war of attrition by relying on their numbers or focusing their attacks on Ning Fan with their divine abilities. Not long after, the foreign race's army retreated to the bottom of the water. Within the lightning light, only Longangua and the other foreign emperors and Ning Fan were left. In this way, even though the immortal emperors still could not open their eyes, they could still determine Ning Fan's location by listening to the sound. Young man, your lightning light is useless now. Die. The second dragon horse crown prince laughed loudly. Together with the other immortal emperors, they launched an attack at Ning Fan. Chapter 1129. As the number of people on the battlefield decreased, even if the immortal emperors of the foreign races could not open their eyes and spread out their spirit sense, they could still vaguely determine Ning Fan's location by listening to his voice. When the immemorial lightning cauldron was activated, Ning Fan was also affected by its side effects. He could not sense his surroundings and could only use sound to determine the enemy's attacks. However, because a few of the enemy immortal emperors had used their soundless divine abilities, Ning Fan was already unable to dodge their attacks when they got close to him. In the end, he was still hit. Even with the strength of Ning Fan's eternal true body, he still suffered some injuries after being attacked by several immortal emperors. Luckily, his injuries were not serious. Under the healing of the cross-shaped halos, he recovered in an instant. When the number of enemies is huge, Ning Fan could activate the light of the immemorial lightning cauldron and engage in a chaotic battle shamelessly. When the enemy was only left with immortal emperors, the effect of the immemorial lightning cauldron was greatly reduced. Instead, it became the factor that affected Ning Fan's combat power. Seeing that he had forced the enemy's army to retreat to the bottom of the water, Ning Fan kept the immemorial lightning cauldron and dispersed the lightning rays that filled the sky. Then his eternal true body indifferently scanned the immortal emperors of the enemy army. Not counting Longonghua, who only had his true spirit left, there were 3 8th Tribulation, 2 7th Tribulation, and 4 6th Tribulation emperors. Ning Fan estimated that with his current strength and techniques, it would not be a problem for him to defeat an 8th Tribulation immortal emperor. However, if he fights against 10 of them alone, his chances of winning would be very slim. The other party had the godly sea steadying needle restraining him. It was unrealistic to use the water bottle to kill the other party. Then there was only a bloody battle left. The outcome of this battle was hard to predict. Even Ning Fan did not even have a 30% chance of winning. However, as long as he was still standing here, the mutated tribe would not be able to take a single step into Lingyun Pass. Be careful. This brat's eyes are ruthless. I'm afraid he wants to fight us to the death. Be careful to keep your distance from him. Although you have the East pacifying talisman bestowed by the great divine priest, and won't be fixed by his Eastern Sky ancestral technique, if you are pulled into the range of the cross-shaped halo, you will still be in danger. You will be attacked by his magical power. You must know that within its range he can instantly unleash over 1,000 divine abilities, which is equivalent to having over 1,000 doppelgangers of the same level attacking the enemy at the same time. Its power cannot be met head-on, and the only way to do so is to distance yourself from it. There's one more thing we have to be careful of. This kid has many mid-grade innate magic treasures on him. Second brother, I'll lend you the fate-severing sword. My physical body has already been destroyed, so it's not advisable for me to expend too much strength. I can only stand by the side and watch over you to prevent this kid from escaping. Longonghua had a premonition that Ning Fan was going to put up a desperate fight. He was worried that Ning Fan would inflict more injuries on him. Thus, he could only watch from the side, and let the mid-grade innate fate-severing sword be used by the second prince. As for himself, he spread a huge net of divine abilities between heaven and earth, sealing off all of Ning Fan's escape routes. Currently, he could not exert much of his strength. Besides, he still had to prevent Ning Fan from escaping. Thus, he naturally could not participate in the battle. However, in his opinion, even if he does not participate in the battle, the 9 immortal sovereigns on his side would be more than enough to deal with Ning Fan. If the Dragon Horse Crown Prince doesn't make a move, this battle will be 1 against 9. Jiangong, Jiangong, Jiangong. A fiery red immortal emperor of the fiery toad race suddenly swelled up its stomach and let out a strange cry like a bull. He was an 8th Tribulation immortal emperor. Even though he was not an expert among the 8th Tribulation immortal emperors, he was not an ordinary 7th Tribulation immortal emperor. The abdomen of this immortal emperor of the fiery toad race swelled up to a certain extent. All of a sudden, his eyes turned fierce. He opened his mouth and spurted out a mouthful of scarlet poisonous liquid. Ning Fan could only feel waves of fishy wind blowing at his face. In an instant, he was enveloped by the poisonous liquid that blotted out the sky. What a fast poison attack! Besides, not only was the speed of this poisonous liquid extremely fast, but its toxicity also gave Ning Fan a sense of danger. If it wasn't because Ning Fan cultivated the poison Yin-Yang poison, given his immortal venerable realm cultivation base, he would probably be severely injured just by smelling the fishy wind. Rumble. Ning Fan ignored the poisonous liquid that hit his true body. He continuously attacked with the ancient Devil Mountain breaking strike, causing the poisonous liquid that blotted out the sky to explode, turning it into poisonous rain that sprinkled on the surface of the river. This made those low-grade foreign races that were hiding in the shallow waters suffer. When the poisonous rain melted into the water, hundreds of thousands of foreign races were poisoned to death. The master of poison? No, it's not the true master of poison. However, it won't be easy to hurt him with poison attacks. The eyes of the immortal emperor of the fiery toad race turned grim. At the same time when Ning Fan destroyed the attack of the fiery toad race's immortal emperor, the immortal emperors of the Thunder Shark clan and the Black Crocodile clan had already sent out 2 rays of divine light at Ning Fan from both sides. The divine light of the Thunder Shark clan's immortal emperor was a ray of purple lightning light, while the attack of the Black Crocodile clan's immortal emperor was a ray of water divine light that could corrode everything in the world. Almost at the same time when Ning Fan repelled the poisonous liquid that blotted out the sky, the 2 attacks had already reached him. Ning Fan could not withdraw his fist force in time, and the 2 attacks hit his eternal true body. These 2 immortal emperors were both 6th Tribulation immortal emperors. Even if they joined forces, they could not break the defense of Ning Fan's eternal true body. Both of them were deeply shocked by the scariness of Ning Fan's true body. Even though they did not directly break the defense of Ning Fan's true body, the golden flames on his true body dimmed and weakened for a moment. If the enemies were only these 2 immortal emperors, Ning Fan could have just mediated with them for a while, and he would be able to buy some time for the dimmed golden flames to recover to their original state. However, the enemies were 10 immortal emperors. They attacked Ning Fan one after another, not planning to give him a chance to breathe at all. Just as the attacks from the Thunder Shark clan and the Black Crocodile clan ended, another heavy punch landed on Ning Fan's back. It was a 100-eyed giant whose body was covered with aquatic plants. There was a string of gigantic skulls hanging around his neck. He was a 6th Tribulation immortal emperor of the Heavenly Eye clan. The members of the Heavenly Eye clan were not good at using divine abilities, but they were good at body refinement. Thus, the timing of the punch was perfect. When the golden flames on Ning Fan's eternal true body dimmed, the punch arrived. Under the impact of the force of the punch, it actually injured Ning Fan's eternal true body, causing him to spurt out blood. Ning Fan's eyes were indifferent and emotionless, as if he was not the one who was injured. Within the range of the cross-shaped light circle, he formed hundreds and thousands of divine abilities, and attacked the 100-eyed giant behind him. Even though the 100-eyed giant's sneak attack was successful, it had stepped into the range of Ning Fan's cross-shaped light circle, because it was a close-range attack. Seeing that Ning Fan's body did not budge at all after receiving his full-force attack when his defense was broken, and he only spurted out a mouthful of blood, he was inwardly shocked. When he saw that the destructive divine abilities inside the cross-shaped light circle had sealed off all of his escape routes and were coming at him from all directions, the 100-eyed giant's face instantly turned pale. He roared, "Fellow Taoist, save me." There was no need for the 100-eyed giant to ask for help. Seeing that the 100-eyed giant's sneak attack had succeeded, but he was trapped in Ning Fan's cross-shaped light circle, 2 of the Dragon Horse Princes had already used their divine abilities to teleport the 100-eyed giant out of the range of the light circle, and evaded Ning Fan's attack. Then, the 2nd Prince of the Dragon Horse clan wielded the fate-severing sword and slashed at him from afar, preventing Ning Fan from having the chance to chase after the 100-eyed giant. Ning Fan's true body waved his hand and summoned his sun, moon and star steel to block the sword light of fate-severing. However, he did not have any time to breathe. When the 2nd prince missed his attack, the 3rd and 4th princes spat out endless flames at him. The truly perfect teamwork did not require all of them to attack at the same time. Instead, they would allocate their positions reasonably. Some of them would be the main attacker, while the others would be the support. They would attack in batches and take turns to exchange positions, not giving the enemy any chance to breathe. The current situation was exactly like this. The immortal emperors of the foreign races in front of him must have practiced how to deal with Ning Fan in advance. Otherwise, it was impossible for them to cooperate so perfectly. No matter how Ning Fan counterattacked, these immortal emperors could instantly find their positions to attack and defend. With such tacit cooperation, they would even have a chance to kill a first-level demigod realm demigod. Ning Fan's techniques were greatly restrained. Now that he was fighting against a group of immortal emperors with his mere immortal venerate cultivation base, he actually felt a much greater pressure compared to when he faced the 16 immortal emperors of the foreign races previously. I'm not willing to accept this. I'm not willing to accept this. Under the tacit cooperation of the enemies, Ningfan defended more than he attacked. Moreover, his eternal ancient true body would be injured by the enemy's attacks from time to time. His injuries were getting more and more severe. At this moment, Ningfan forgot about the danger of the battle and his injuries that were getting more and more severe. Despite being in a disadvantageous situation, Ningfan did not have the slightest intention of surrendering. Instead, a monstrous devil intent was occupying his heart. It was the unyielding devil intent of the ancient devil that wanted to destroy everything. I can't lose. The soaring cloud mountain pass is right behind me. If I lose, all of my subordinates will die. Ningfan threw out the ancient devil mountain breaking punch one after another. The momentum of his punches became stronger and stronger. When the ancient devil mountain breaking punch reached 3,000 consecutive hits, Ningfan seized the opportunity and punched the physical body of the 100-eyed giant that was sneakily attacking him again, causing it to explode. He withstood the 100-eyed giant's sneak attack head-on and suffered severe injuries. Even so, he still managed to kill the 100-eyed giant despite his injuries. This 100-eyed giant did not have a true spirit. It was just an ordinary immortal emperor's demon soul. When its physical body exploded, Ningfan directly captured its demon soul and threw it into the divine refining cauldron that was circling around him to refine it to death. The immortal emperors of the foreign races were shocked. Ningfan actually wanted to kill an immortal emperor even at the risk of suffering severe injuries. Could this man be a madman? All along, the impression that Ningfan left on the immortal emperors of the foreign races was his endless means. However, at this moment, these immortal emperors realized for the first time that Ningfan's most terrifying feature was not his means, but his crazy style of doing things. At this moment, Ningfan was completely controlling his ancient devil cultivation base. What was emitting from his body was not the usual red light of the calamity blood. Instead, it was the filthy and evil black essence chi. The benefits of killing the 100-eyed giant at the risk of suffering severe injuries were extremely great. Ningfan cultivated the life-killing technique. At the moment he killed the 100-eyed giant, he absorbed its flesh and blood essence chi, causing his cultivation base to skyrocket for a short period of time. How did his chi become stronger? Some of the immortal emperors of the foreign races were shocked. It's the ancient devil's life-killing technique. Longangguo was very experienced. He immediately recognized the reason why Ningfan's chi became stronger. His expression changed. That was a great ability that only the Lord of the Devil Conferral Summit could learn. Why did Ningfan know it? As soon as the second prince of the dragon horse heard that Ningfan was actually using the life-killing technique, he was also shocked. Don't let him devour the flesh and blood of fellow Taoist divine eyes. If he uses the life-killing technique to heal his injuries, the injuries that we had painstakingly inflicted on him would be in vain. The life-killing technique can also heal injuries? How could Ningfan not know about it? However, at this moment, Ningfan did not have the time to care about the second prince's words. After killing the 100-eyed giant, his chi had increased tremendously. The destructive power of each of his ancient devil mountain-breaking strikes attacks had increased by more than 30%. So what if they are severely injured? I don't care anymore. I want to kill more immortal emperors. I want to kill more enemies. I want to defend the Lingyan Pass. Boom, the third prince of the dragon horse, took out a piece of dragon bone that he had refined for many years and sent Ningfan flying while coughing out blood. Ningfan did not defend himself against the attack of the dragon bone. Instead, he used the momentum of his flight to fly towards the other crown prince of the dragon horse, the sixth prince of the dragon horse. A second ago, the sixth prince was still sneering at Ningfan, who was sent flying by his sixth brother in a disheveled manner. At the next second, his expression changed. He saw Ningfan, who was flying towards him while coughing out blood. That expression was something that even the most fearless devil lord would not be able to fake. That was a madness that completely disregarded life and death. That was a defiance that would drag all the immortal emperors down to hell together with him, even if he had to die here today. Ningfan's vision was covered by the blood that flowed down from his forehead. The world seemed to have turned blood red in an instant. However, due to his severe injuries, heaven and earth shook and his vision became blurred. In his blurred vision, Ningfan only locked onto the sixth prince of the dragon horse and ignored the attacks from the others. The fourth prince released his fire dragon tendon and entangled the left leg of Ningfan's true body, trying to stop him from getting closer to the sixth prince. Thus, Ningfan directly broke his left leg and broke free from the entanglement of the fire dragon tendon, continuing to move forward. The purple lightning divine nail of the Thundershark clan penetrated Ningfan's chest, causing blood to flow out like a pillar. However, it still could not stop Ningfan from moving forward. Seeing that Ningfan wanted to get closer to him at all costs, the sixth prince's body trembled. He was intimidated by Ningfan's almost crazy behavior. He unleashed his full speed, trying to retreat. However, Ningfan's speed was faster than him. The distance between them was getting shorter and shorter. He released all of his innate dragon fire, turning it into a firewall that enveloped Ningfan within. However, at the next moment, Ningfan directly rushed out of the firewall like a man made of fire and landed a punch on the body of his giant dragon. It was the 3,200th punch of the ancient Devil Mountain breaking strike. 3,200 punches were Ningfan's limit. 3,200 punches would cause a backlash to his body, which was beyond his limit. Ningfan did not have the mood to repeat the ancient Devil Mountain breaking strike from the beginning. He insisted on exchanging injuries for injuries. He insisted on attacking the enemy with the 3,200th punch that was beyond his limit. It was not an attack that the sixth prince of the dragon horse, who was at the seventh tribulation realm, could withstand. His giant dragon body was directly destroyed by Ningfan. His blood and flesh splattered everywhere. Ningfan captured his true spirit, planted a restriction on it, and threw it into the profound Yin world. Another immortal emperor was killed. Under the enhancement of the killing technique, Ningfan's chi became stronger. His magic power was so vast that it was not any weaker than an ordinary sixth tribulation immortal emperor. Despite being at a disadvantage, Ningfan still managed to kill 2 immortal emperors in a row despite being severely injured. Such an achievement shocked each of the immortal emperors of the foreign races. All of a sudden, none of them actually dared to attack Ningfan while he was gasping for breath. One of his legs is broken. His speed is not as fast as before. His injuries are even more severe. He is already an arrow at the end of its flight. Don't be frightened by his achievement of killing 2 immortal emperors in a row. It's impossible for him to kill another one. Quickly kill him. Don't give him any time to recover. Longangua shouted angrily. As soon as he said that, the fear on the faces of all the immortal emperors of the foreign races disappeared. They regained their cold killing intent. They wanted to kill Ningfan in one fell swoop while he was weakened. Among them, the immortal emperor of the Fire Toad clan was the first to rush out. Let this old man kill him. The immortal emperor of the Fire Toad clan was the first to rush out. He swallowed Ningfan into his abdomen, trying to refine Ningfan to death in his body. He was doing so out of selfish motives. He wanted to devour all of the essence of Ningfan's flesh and blood. Then he could secretly learn all of Ningfan's abilities and techniques. If Ningfan was at his peak, he certainly would not dare to devour him alive. However, didn't Lord Longangua say that Ningfan was already an arrow at the end of its flight? Saint Poison Smelting. The immortal emperor of the Fire Toad clan displayed his great abilities. He used up a drop of the most precious poison in his abdomen just to smelt Ningfan's body. When Longangua and the other immortal emperors saw that the immortal emperor of the Fire Toad clan had even used up the Saint Poison, their expressions changed. As the name suggested, the Saint Poison was a drop of fierce poison left by the ancestor of the Fire Toad clan to this day. Using the poison of the Saint Poison to kill Ningfan was naturally not impossible. However, the Fire Toad clan had a secret technique. By devouring the flesh and blood of the enemy, there was a chance for them to obtain the enemy's abilities and techniques. Everyone could see that the immortal emperor of the Fire Toad clan did not hesitate to use the saint poison to devour Ningfan in order to secretly learn his various heaven-defying techniques. When they thought that this immortal emperor of the Fire Toad clan might learn Ningfan's cross-shaped halos and other techniques, Longangua and the others could not help but feel a little jealous of the good luck of the immortal emperor of the Fire Toad clan. Has that young man been killed by the saint poison? Even though Longangua believed in the power of the saint poison, he still asked another question. Of course he has been killed. Now that young man has already turned into a pool of pus and blood in my stomach. He has already. The immortal emperor of the Fire Toad clan was sneering. All of a sudden, his complexion turned extremely pale. Cold sweat broke out on the face of the gigantic toad. He opened his mouth and was tongue-tied, unable to utter a single word for a long time. What's wrong? The other immortal emperors were shocked and asked. However, the immortal emperor of the Fire Toad clan did not answer them. It was because he no longer had the chance to answer them. Ningfan threw out 100 ancient devil mountain-breaking punches, in one go with the frequency of tens of punches per second inside his stomach. The immortal emperor of the Fire Toad clan, who was still complacent just a moment ago, had his physical body disintegrated at the next moment. His demon soul was captured by Ningfan from the inside, and was tossed into the divine refining cauldron to be refined to death. Another immortal emperor was killed. However, the price Ningfan paid was also extremely heavy. His current appearance was incomparably terrifying. Large areas of his flesh and blood were festering, revealing deep white bones. His left leg was broken by him and half of his face was poisoned by the immortal emperor of the Fire Toad clan. Poisonous blood flowed out from his wounds. A large number of low-grade foreign races would be poisoned to death no matter where the drop of poison reached. Even though Ningfan had cultivated the yin-yang poison, he was still severely injured by the drop of Saint's violent poison that had been passed down by the immortal emperor of the Fire Toad clan for many years. If it wasn't because this drop of Saint's violent poison had been passed down for a long time, and its power was less than 10%, Ningfan would certainly have been killed by the Saint's poison. At this moment, his badly mutilated appearance was incomparably hideous. The only thing that remained unchanged was his devil eyes, which were filled with monstrous battle intent. After killing the immortal emperor of the Fire Toad clan, Ningfan's aura force rose steadily. That kind of rise had even exceeded the limit that Ningfan could bear. However, Ningfan did not care about that anymore. He knew that if the enhancement of the killing technique exceeds the endurance of his physical body, it would result in a huge backlash. However, if he could not break through the current dangerous situation, everything he did was just empty talk. What difference would it make if he suffered a backlash or not? He allowed the meridians in his body to rupture and his primordial spirit to burst, leaving behind injuries. He did not have time to recover his broken left leg. He directly stepped on the sky with one leg and flew towards the immortal emperor of the Thunder Shark clan. Not good. This lunatic wants to kill me this time. Overwhelmed with shock, the immortal emperor of the Thunder Shark clan spat out his natal lightning, trying to smash Ningfan into pieces. There were also a few immortal emperors who helped the immortal emperor of the Thunder Shark clan from the side. Their attacks landed on Ningfan's body, penetrating his eternal true body. However, none of them could stop him from advancing. Half of Ningfan's head was smashed. However, he still maintained the unyielding battle intent of an ancient devil. He passed through the concentrated lightning attacks and threw out tens of punches in an instant, killing the immortal emperor of the Thunder Shark clan. The divine refining cauldron directly refined the immortal emperor of the Thunder Shark clan to death. This was the fourth immortal emperor that Ningfan had killed. However, he felt that he no longer had any extra strength to kill the other immortal emperors. He obviously did not have any extra strength, and he was already on the verge of death. However, this near-death state seemed to have elevated his killing technique to a whole new level. It was no longer the fusion of the Tao of Techniques and the Tao of Techniques. Instead, it was the fusion of the Tao of Techniques and the Tao of Senses. Under this kind of strange enlightenment, Ningfan's wounds actually felt numb. He did not know why. Chapter 1130. Unfortunately, Ning Fan did not have the time to carefully sense the subtle changes in his body. If he was on the verge of death, the killing art would have another function, which was to devour the enemy's blood to heal his injuries. However, this required countless life-and-death battles in order to gradually cultivate it. Unfortunately, since Ning Fan stepped onto the path of cultivation, he did not have many near-death experiences. Thus, he had yet to cultivate the healing effect of the killing art. He did not have the mood to comprehend the killing art. He did not have the mood to care about the feeling of weakness in his body. The effect of battle yin-yang was activated at this moment. Although he was on the verge of death, his fighting spirit was unprecedentedly high. His eyes were burning with the flames of battle. Although his physical body was severely injured and weak, his mind was as good as new under the nourishment of the spirit-recovering rice. There was no sign of exhaustion. The ancient Devil Mountain breaking strike was a body technique. If his physical body was weak, it would be difficult for him to exert its power. Due to the excessive loss of blood, he could no longer use his fists. However, as long as his mind was still clear and his magic power was endless, he could still rely on his magical treasures and divine abilities to fight his enemies to the end even if he could not use his body technique. There are still 6 more people. Ning Fan's killing intent did not diminish. With a thought, a black immortal cloud appeared under the feet of his eternal true body. Currently, his physical strength was exhausted and one of his legs was broken. Without time to recover, his speed was a problem. He did not have the strength to use his physical body to move. Fortunately, he still had the black immortal cloud. As long as he had enough magic power, he could still maintain a high speed that was far beyond ordinary immortal emperors. Is this man a monster? He is already in such a state, but he still has such strong battle intent. Longangua and the other immortal emperors were deeply shocked. That shock turned into endless fear, making their desire to kill Ning Fan even stronger. This man could still kill immortal emperors when he was weak and on the verge of death. If they let him go today, he would certainly cause trouble for generations to come. This man must be killed. His existence was enough to affect the great divine priest's plan to conquer Eastern Heaven. I don't believe that you can kill the 5th immortal emperor in such a weak state. The second prince of Dragon Horse shouted, and controlled the fate-severing sword to slash at Ning Fan from a distance. Among the rest of the emperors, other than Longangua who was standing guard, all of them participated in the operation to besiege Ning Fan. They wanted to take advantage of Ning Fan's weakened state to kill him. He used the sun, moon and star steel to block the second prince's slash. Then he used the 7 treasures wondrous tree to send the Black Crocodile clan's immortal emperor flying. Then he used the 1,000-hook jade sea defying sword that was surrounded by 8 types of Dao laws to attack the 4th prince of the Dragon Horse, causing him to spurt out blood and fly backward. Then he used an incomparably domineering flame lightning fire pillar to burn the 3rd prince of the Dragon Horse to a crisp. Ning Fan had captured too many Dragon Horse crown princes. The innate dragon flames of each of them had become nourishment for Ning Fan's flame lightning. Due to the fact that his flame lightning possessed the attribute of the fire of adversity beast, it could advance through devouring flames. Currently, the destructive power of his flame lightning was not much weaker than a single type of mid-grade innate flame. Naturally, its destructive power was terrifying. It was far stronger than when he first came to Taiyuan Crossing. You were careless and forgot about me. Divine Concealment, Heavenly Shadow Bite. It was a 6th Tribulation Immortal Emperor from the Heavenly Shadow Clan. He suddenly moved stealthily behind Ning Fan, and opened his gigantic mouth, trying to bite Ning Fan's eternal true body in half. Judging from his appearance, the Immortal Emperor of the Heavenly Shadow Clan looked like a gigantic black mud monster. However, the sharpness of his teeth was not soft at all. Instead, they were as sharp as innate magic treasures. Currently, Ning Fan's eternal true body had been severely injured by the holy poison. If the Immortal Emperor of the Heavenly Shadow Clan managed to sneak an attack on him, his physical body would probably be bitten into pieces. The divine concealment technique of the Heavenly Shadow Clan was even more powerful. Even ordinary 7th Tribulation and 8th Tribulation Immortal Emperors would have a hard time seeing through their concealment technique. Unfortunately, this level of concealment technique could not hide from the senses of Ningfan's rain technique at all. The countless water vapors in the atmosphere above the boundary river were all Ningfan's rain sense. During the matter of the primordial core realm, Ningfan had seen through the divine concealment technique of the Heavenly Shadow Clan. Today, the divine concealment technique could not hide from his eyes either. The corner of Ningfan's mouth curled into a mocking smile. He knew that there must be an enemy immortal emperor who wanted to take advantage of his weak physical body to approach him and take his life. Ningfan had used almost all of his means to deal with the other 4 immortal emperors of the foreign races. Moreover, because of his depleted strength, it was impossible for him to turn around and attack the immortal emperor of the Heavenly Shadow Clan like what he did to the 100-eyed giant. This immortal emperor of the Heavenly Shadow Clan's sneak attack was too fast. It was so fast that Ningfan's cross-shaped light ring did not even have the time to condense a divine ability to block the attack. Fortunately, Ningfan still had a trump card. Just as immortal Emperor Tianing bit down, he suddenly felt a strong force of the Palm Realm. After being hit by that force, immortal Emperor Tianing felt dizzy and his eyes were spinning. Then he disappeared from heaven and earth. He was forcefully locked into the void space of the Palm Realm of the Stone Man's Eye by Ningfan. Ningfan also entered the void space of the Stone Man's Eye. He kept all of his magic treasures and followed the immortal emperor of the Heavenly Shadow Clan into the Stone Man's Eye in a flash. The Stone Man's Eye was a treasure that Ningfan obtained in the Supreme Pill Sacred Region. It was a severely damaged void space of the Palm Realm. It was very difficult to deal with a high-level immortal emperor with a void space like this. However, it was still somewhat effective against a mere 6th tribulation immortal emperor of the Heavenly Shadow Clan. Seeing that Ningfan was still able to lock the immortal emperor of the Heavenly Shadow Clan into another world, even though he was in such a weakened state, Longangua and the others were all shocked. One should know that even a medium Kiliakosm treasure could not forcefully take away an immortal emperor. Moreover, what Ningfan used was obviously not a world treasure. Due to the activation of the Stone Man's Eye, countless Tao laws of the Palm Realm of heaven and earth turned into thousands of strands of silk ribbons and fell from the sky. It's actually the void space of the Palm Realm. This young man has actually cultivated the void space of the Palm Realm and locked fellow Taoist Haiying inside it. I can't believe that he could wait until now to use this trump card. The expression of the 4th prince of the dragon horse race changed drastically. This is bad. The void space of the Palm Realm is a technique that only great sovereigns can use. It's extremely powerful. Even if all of us are locked inside the void space of the Palm Realm, we will still be in an extremely dangerous situation. Fellow Taoist Haiying is just a 6th tribulation immortal emperor. If she is locked inside the void space alone, she will almost certainly die. That's the Palm Realm we're talking about. The immortal emperor of the Black Crocodile Clan wore an extremely unpleasant expression. It's extremely difficult to break the void space of the Palm Realm from the outside world. Unless we also have an immortal emperor at the Palm Realm or someone whose cultivation base is 6 to 7 levels higher than that young man surnamed Ning, we won't be able to tear open his void space in a short period of time. Otherwise, we will need a lot of time to break open a crack and enter the void space of the Palm Realm. This is troublesome. We don't have that much time to slowly tear open this young man's void space. I'm afraid that fellow Taoist Haiying won't be able to hold on for long. What should we do? The 3rd prince's face turned extremely gloomy. Big brother, what should we do? The 2nd prince immediately shifted his gaze to Longangua. Longangua's expression was filled with shock. He was also shocked by the gimmick of Ningfan's void space. One should know that the 2 words Palm Realm was a huge gap to an immortal emperor. A great sovereign who possessed the void space of the Palm Realm could fight against many experts at the same level as him. If Ningfan really cultivated the void space of the Palm Realm, he would have to consider and retreat for the time being even if he had the upper hand in today's battle. However, when Longangua carefully observed the Tao law of the Palm Realm of heaven and earth, he was suddenly stunned. Then, all of his fear disappeared and he burst into laughter. Don't be fooled by this young man. This Palm Realm of the Palm Realm of the Palm Realm is not something that the young man surnamed Ning cultivated himself. No one knows where he picked it up from. Moreover, the void space of this palm realm is not in perfect condition. Instead, it is severely damaged. As long as we combine our strength, it won't be difficult to destroy this palm realm of the palm realm. As soon as Longangwa said that, the other immortal emperors heaved a sigh of relief. Their battle intent surged again. Rumble. This time, even Longangwa did not plan to hold back anymore. He joined the group of immortal emperors and attacked together. They wanted to destroy the void space of the palm realm of the palm realm as soon as possible and rescue the immortal emperor of the Heavenly Shadow clan. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. Under the combined attack of Longangwa and the other 4 immortal emperors, the half-destroyed void space of the palm realm of the palm realm of the palm realm was destroyed in just 6 breaths. It turned into countless fragments of the void and fell into the vast river. Ning Fan violently coughed out blood and fell from the void space of the palm realm. At the same time, the corpse of immortal Emperor Tian, which had been smashed into a pile of flesh, also fell from the sky. Longangwa and the others were still a step too late. Ning Fan had already killed the immortal emperor of the Heavenly Shadow clan. With a cracking sound, the stone man's eye that was hovering around Ning Fan cracked from the middle. Then it turned into powder and disappeared along with the wind. Trash. Truly trash. This Haiying has only been trapped in the void space of the palm realm for 5 breaths. He was actually killed within that time. Longangwa was furious. He did not hesitate to use his true spirit foundation and magic power to destroy the void space of the palm realm of Ning Fan's palm realm. However, he still failed to rescue the immortal emperor of the Heavenly Shadow clan. How could he not be angry? However, it was also normal that he could not rescue the immortal emperor. Ning Fan brought the sun, moon and stars steel, the ocean-defying sword, and the tree of 7 wonders into the void space of the palm realm. Then he used the flame lightning to attack. A series of attacks landed on immortal Emperor Tianying's body. The damage it caused was no less than the 3,000 ancient devils breaking mountain attack. Killing a 6 tribulation immortal emperor within 5 breaths was not a miraculous thing at all. Right now, Ning Fan, who had obtained the killing technique to improve his cultivation base, had the strength to do such a thing. The pitiful immortal Emperor Tian initially thought that he could launch a sneak attack on Ning Fan. However, he was killed by Ning Fan within 5 breaths. His cultivation base went down the drain and in the end, he became the 10,000 spirit blood in the divine refining cauldron. Ning Fan also suffered a great loss. Even though he managed to make the immortal emperor of the Heavenly Shadow clan be alone with the help of the Stone Man's Eye and killed him, his enemies also took the opportunity to destroy the Stone Man's Eye. Thus he lost this item forever. Even though the void space of the palm realm of the Stone Man's Eye was severely damaged, it could still allow Ning Fan to fully comprehend the palm realm of the Stone Man. If it was not destroyed, Ning Fan might be able to comprehend the mysteries of the palm realm of the Stone Man's Eye one day in the future. Now that the Stone Man's Eye was destroyed, he had lost this opportunity forever. However, there was nothing he could do about it. How could he obtain it if he was reluctant to part with it? As long as it could help him to turn the situation around, Ning Fan would not mind losing a mere Stone Man's Eye. Even though he was affected by the collapse of the void space of the palm realm and his injuries worsened, his aura force skyrocketed after killing another immortal emperor. Currently, the density of Ning Fan's magic power was no longer any weaker than a 7 tribulation immortal emperor after killing 5 immortal emperors in a row. It was not something that Ning Fan's ancient devil cultivation base could withstand. His primordial spirit was already cracking. Blood essence and primordial spirit chi kept flowing out of his primordial spirit. Even his foundation was beginning to suffer damage. However, Ning Fan could no longer care about that. No matter what, he must protect the Ling Yin Pass today. He even had an evil thought. He wanted to take advantage of today's battle to eliminate all 16 immortal emperors of the Dragon Horse clan in one fell swoop, and put an end to this long-standing grudge. There are still 5 of them. Longangwa, are you still not going to make your move? Under the influence of the ancient devil sense, Ning Fan let out a wild laugh. Then, he rode a dark immortal cloud and rushed towards the immortal emperor of the Black Crocodile clan. The immortal emperor of the Black Crocodile clan was just a sixth tribulation immortal emperor. Ningfan, on the other hand, had raised his cultivation base to the magic power of a seventh tribulation immortal emperor through the life-killing technique. Just the aura force of his cultivation base alone was enough to make immortal Emperor Black Crocodile's expression change drastically. How would he dare to face Ningfan's attack head-on? Longangua's expression turned extremely unpleasant. He was enraged by Ningfan's provocative words. At the same time, he was afraid that immortal Emperor Hey Crocodile would also be killed by Ningfan. Thus, he disregarded the injuries of his true spirit and brazenly attacked immortal Emperor Hey Crocodile to save him. However, before Longangua could fly far away, he lost control of his mind because of Ningfan's provocation. Due to his carelessness, he fell into Ningfan's illusion technique, causing his eyes to fall into a daze. Ningfan, who was originally rushing towards immortal Emperor Hey Crocodile, narrowed his eyes. He suddenly changed his direction and rushed towards Longangua instead. Attacking immortal Emperor Heichio was just a cover. Ningfan's real target was Long and Country. No one expected that Ningfan would choose Longangua, who had the strongest cultivation base in this place, as his next target. If Longangua's physical body was not destroyed and his cultivation base was not damaged, he would not fall into Ningfan's illusion technique so easily. However, right now, he only had his true spirit left. To ordinary immortal emperors, if they were beaten to the point where only their primordial spirit and demon soul were left, they would be no different from a cripple. Even though Longangua's true spirit was in a slightly better condition, it still greatly limited his strength because he only had his true spirit left. Due to his carelessness, it was not incomprehensible for him to be fooled by Ningfan's illusion technique again. His Sun, Moon and Star Steel, Ocean-defying Sword, Tree of Seven Treasures, Flame Lightning. Ningfan went all out, blocking all the attacks from the other four immortal emperors. Taking advantage of the moment when Longangua was confused by the illusion technique, he approached him. The speed of the dark immortal cloud was very fast. It was far beyond the speed of the immortal emperors in this place. No one could save Longangua in time. Ningfan did not waste time talking to Longangua. He directly took out the water flooding bottle and sucked Longangua into it. Under normal circumstances, Ningfan would not use the water flooding bottle to suck people in. However, it did not mean that the water flooding bottle did not have this function. It was very risky to suck the enemy into the water flooding bottle. It might give the enemy a chance to destroy the bottle from the inside. If Longangua resisted, Ningfan would not be able to suck Longangua away at all with his current magic power of the Seven Tribulations realm. Fortunately, Longangua was under the illusion technique. Even though the illusion technique could only confuse Longangua for a moment, it was enough for Ningfan to trap him in the water flooding bottle. While Ningfan was controlling the Sun, Moon and Star Steel to deal with the other four immortal emperors, he was channeling most of his magic power into the water flooding bottle with all his might. The other four immortal emperors wanted to snatch the water flooding bottle to save Longangua. But how could they succeed? Currently, Ningfan had used the life-killing technique to increase his strength. Besides, his techniques were extremely powerful. How could these people defeat him? The world inside the bottle. Longangua shouted and woke up from the illusion technique. On one hand, he despised the low grade of Ningfan's illusion technique. On the other hand, he sighed at Ningfan's profound attainments in illusion technique. The small eyes of his true spirit scanned the surroundings. At this moment, all his expressions froze and turned into astonishment. The world inside the bottle was filled with raging waves. Of course, it was because Ningfan was channeling his magic power into the bottle with all his might. Waves after waves of the defying Chun-Si swept towards Longangua. Longangua was careless and was hit by one of the waves. He immediately coughed out blood and his expression changed drastically. The impact of a single wave was like countless cultivation planets crashing into him. Even if he still had his physical body, he would not be able to withstand the impact of the waves. At this moment, it was even more impossible for him to withstand the impact of the waves with his mere true spirit. Moreover, these waves were too familiar to him. They looked so familiar that it terrified him. These waves were clearly the strange waves that Ning Fan used to flood the world last time. Damn it! This brat is too cunning. He knows that I have placed the sea-steadying divine needle outside, and I can't launch any attacks from the outside. Thus, he directly kept me into his bottle world. Even though the sea-steadying divine needle can restrict the water element attacks within a certain range, it can't restrict the circulation of the water elemental energy inside the enemy's magic treasure. If this brat drowns me in the bottle world, he won't be restricted by the sea-steadying divine needle at all. He won't even be restricted by the immortal emperor's seal in the realm river. Not good. I must not be trapped in this place. Otherwise, I will definitely die. I must break this bottle world and escape from it. At this moment, Longangua only wanted to survive. How could he care about damaging the foundation of his true spirit? He used all of his remaining magic power, turning them into peerless abilities that constantly attacked the spatial barrier of the bottle world. Ning Fan's magic power was boundless. He activated the defying Chun sea waves and blocked most of Longangua's attacks. However, there were still some attacks that hit the spatial barrier of the bottle world, creating countless cracks in the bottle world. However, Longangua was not having a good time either. As he attacked with all his might, it was inevitable for him to neglect his defense. As a result, he was hit by several waves in a row. His true spirit was severely injured, and he coughed out blood continuously. However, he still spared no effort in attacking the bottle world in an attempt to survive. This was a life-and-death battle. Either Ning Fan drowned Longangua in the bottle world, or Longangua broke Ning Fan's water-drowning world bottle and escaped from it. In the outside world, Ning Fan was holding the other 4 immortal emperors back with his tremendous firepower. He was concentrating on fighting Longangua, who was trapped in the bottle world through the water-drowning bottle. The surface of the water-drowning bottle was covered with cracks. The more conspicuous cracks were like fine spider webs, while the less conspicuous ones were like the greenish-white flowers on the porcelain vases. As the number of cracks continued to increase, the power of the water-drowning bottle continued to be damaged. Ning Fan would not repair this kind of damage. If the damage was severe to a certain extent, the water-drowning bottle might be completely destroyed in this battle, losing all possibilities of repairing it. It could be said that Ning Fan had taken a huge risk by sucking Longangua into the water-drowning bottle. If he was careless, he would lose the water-drowning bottle forever. During the battle, Ning Fan took some time to eat some spirit-recovering rice. As long as his mind and spirit were not exhausted, his magic power would be endless. Longangua was at a great disadvantage in this aspect. His magic power had a limit. Moreover, he was in the bottle world. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to absorb the power of heaven and earth to restore his magic power from the bottle world controlled by Ning Fan. Time passed by slowly. In the blink of an eye, several hours had passed. The water-drowning bottle had been half destroyed by Longangua. One had to admit that Longangua was really tenacious. He was still alive after being attacked by the waves in the bottle for several hours. However, Longangua was still dragged to his limit. His magic power had been depleted by the bottle world. Even though he would consume some pills and heavenly ingredients and earthly treasures to restore his magic power, how could the speed of recovery be faster than the speed of his magic power consumption? As a true spirit, he could not use too much magic power in the first place. After using magic power for 8 hours consecutively, his true spirit had suffered a huge backlash. In addition, the waves would hit him from time to time. His true spirit was so weak that he could not even open his eyes. Finally, another wave that reached the sky swept towards him. He failed to break the wave and evade it. He was swept into the bottom of the earth-defying sea by the wave, and let out a miserable shriek. In the outside world, Ning Fan's eyes lit up with joy. After several hours of exhausting his magic power, he finally suppressed Longangua's true spirit at the bottom of the water-drowning bottle. This was the first time he killed a male 9 Tribulation Immortal Emperor head-on. However, he also paid a huge price for it. One had to admit that the true spirit of the Dragon Horse clan was really powerful. It was directly suppressed at the bottom of the water-drowning bottle, but it was still not crushed to death. Fortunately, The weak and dying Longangua could not escape from the bottom of the sea at all, let alone continue to attack the bottle world. He had already become Ning Fan's prisoner. In this way, there were only 4 immortal emperors left to deal with. The remaining 4 immortal emperors still did not know that Longangua had already been suppressed by the earth-defying sea. They were still hoping that Longangua could escape from the bottle and save them. Even though Ning Fan had killed Longangua, he still activated an illusion technique to disguise himself on the water-drowning bottle. On the surface, the cracks on the bottle were still increasing. It looked like Longangua was still struggling in the bottle world. Damn it! Why hasn't Big Brother escaped from the bottle yet? I have lost a lot of magic power. I can't hold on for much longer. The second prince of the Dragon Horse clan looked extremely anxious. The fate-severing sword was a mid-grade innate magic treasure. It consumed a lot of magic power. The second prince was not Ning Fan, who had endless magic power. After several hours of bitter battle, his magic power was already depleted, and he could no longer use the fate-severing sword. He could only use ordinary attacks to delay Ning Fan. Even though they still had 4 immortal emperors besieging Ning Fan, the situation was already very disadvantageous to them. The second prince and the others knew very well that if Longangua could escape from the water-drowning bottle, they might still have a chance to capture Ning Fan with his strength and means as a 9-tribulation immortal emperor. However, if Longangua could not escape, they could only give up on their plan to kill Ning Fan, even if they were unwilling to do so. They had no choice but to retreat once again. That Ning Brat's might is unstoppable. Why don't we retreat for now and come back to kill him after we find more helpers? Immortal Emperor Hey Crocodile advised. He already had the intention to retreat. Brother Crocodile, don't be afraid. If I'm not wrong, the cracks on that Ning Brat's bottle are almost at its limit. Big Brother will be able to escape from it soon. Let's wait a little longer. Don't be in a hurry to retreat. Let's wait for Big Brother to escape first. The third prince rejected Immortal Emperor Hey Crocodile's suggestion. What third brother said is right. That Ning Brat's mind is connected to the bottle. If Big Brother can destroy this bottle, his injuries will certainly worsen and completely exceed his limit. At that time, there's no need for us to do anything. Ning Brat's physical body will directly collapse because of the accumulated injuries. On the contrary, if we retreat now, that Ning Brat will be able to deal with Big Brother who is trapped in the bottle. If that's the case, Big Brother will be in danger. The fourth prince echoed. The second prince hesitated for a moment. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said, "That's right. We can't abandon Big Brother. Let's wait a little longer. When Big Brother breaks the water-drowning bottle, we will be able to turn the situation around." The Black Crocodile clan sighed. It was too late for him to regret getting involved in this mess. However, the situation was already hard for him to back down. He certainly did not dare to abandon the Dragon Horse princes and escape alone. He was afraid that the other party would come after him. The few Dragon Horse princes did not listen to his advice and refused to retreat. He had no choice but to brace himself and continue fighting Ning Fan. Immortal Emperor Hey Crocodile silently prayed to the river god of the border river, praying that Longangua could break the water-drowning bottle and escape quickly to turn the situation around. However, he did not know that Longangua was already suppressed under the inverse mortal sea. They had already lost any hope of turning the tide. The bloody battle was still going on. The enemies were just 4 immortal emperors. Ning Fan was already able to deal with them with ease when he was attacking and defending. He rarely suffered injuries. As such, under the healing of the cross-shaped light circle, the terrifying injuries of his eternal true body were healing at an extremely fast speed. His broken leg gradually grew back. The half of his face that was smashed was also gradually recovering. Flesh and skin began to grow on the white bones. The wounds were healing bit by bit. In another few hours, Ning Fan had already recovered more than half of his injuries using his eternal true body. His golden flame giant body was as good as new. The remaining injuries were all internal injuries that were hard to heal. They were caused by the holy poison, and could not be healed with conventional methods. The magic power of the enemies was getting lesser and lesser while Ning Fan's magic power was still bottomless. After recovering more than half of his injuries, he could already use the ancient Devil Mountain breaking strike again. He found a gap and launched the 3000 ancient Devil Mountain breaking strike, killing the Black Crocodile clan's immortal emperor. The Lingyan mountain pass was filled with thunderous cheers. The enemies only had 3 immortal emperors left. No one expected that Ningfan was actually about to win such a tough battle, with such a great disparity in strength. Damn it! Why isn't Big Brother out yet? We really can't hold on any longer. The remaining 3 Dragon Horse Crown Princes lost their will to fight. If it wasn't because they still had the hope that Longangua was about to escape, they might have already turned around and fled. For immortal emperors could not take Ningfan down. Now that there were only 3 of them left, their disadvantage was naturally even greater. Even though Ningfan was fighting against 3 of them alone, he was still able to suppress them and beat them up violently. It might be hard to believe if it was spread out, but it was happening right now. After another hour, the 4th prince's physical body was penetrated by the ocean-defying sword, due to a moment of carelessness. Thousands of heavenly magatama exploded inside his body, destroying his physical body. Ningfen also captured his true spirit. There are still 2 more of them. The 2nd and 3rd princes were in despair. How could they still dare to wait for Longangua to escape? They were afraid that they would all be captured by Ningfan before they could wait for that long. After making up their minds, they finally dived into the water of the Realm River, and used the current to speed up their escape. How could Ningfan let the 2 of them escape? He activated the treasure-searching compass and locked onto the 2 of them. He chased them all the way into the Realm River. The magic power of the 2 remaining Dragon Horse Princes was basically depleted. How could they be Ningfan's match? They did not expect that Ningfan, who was not a member of the Water Clan, could actually resist the magnetic force of the Realm River and move freely at the bottom of the river. Immediately, they were scared out of their wits. Ningfan's speed was far faster than the 2 of them. While chasing after them, he attacked them at the same time. Very soon, he destroyed the 3rd prince's physical body and captured his true spirit. The 2nd prince's gigantic dragon body was already in tatters after being beaten by Ningfan. His dark red sovereign blood was about to run out. The sparse amount of golden sovereign blood began to flow out, dyeing the waters along the way as if they were plated with a layer of gold. Holding the fate-severing sword in his mouth, he desperately tried to escape. His physical body was about to be destroyed by Ningfan. His heart was filled with despair. Just as he was in despair, 2 immortal emperors suddenly swam towards him from the waters in front of him. The 2 of them sensed that Ningfan had entered the water to kill more people. Hence, they came to stop him from killing the last Dragon Horse Immortal Emperor. Fellow Taoists, quickly save me. Hot tears flowed down from the 2nd prince's dragon eyes. It was the joy of seeing hope in the midst of despair. Of the 2 immortal emperors who came to save him, one was an immortal emperor from the Hai Kong clan while the other was an immortal emperor from the Fei Yi clan. Both of them had 6 Tribulation Realm cultivation bases, and they came here to pick up the leftovers. From their point of view, Ningfan was definitely an arrow at the end of its flight after fighting against the Dragon Horse clan for such a long time. Thus, they might as well come here to be the good guys and get a favor from the Dragon Horse clan. If they can capture Ningfan, who had brought chaos to the 10 Paths, and report this to the Great Divine Priest, it would also be a great contribution. Fellow Taoist, don't worry. Watch me kill this brat with my Hai Kong Great Sword. Immortal Emperor Hai Kong activated his eternal true body. In an instant, he turned into a 100-jong giant from the body of an ocean beast. He held a divine sword with purple runes in his hand and slashed at Ningfan. Unfortunately, before the tip of his sword could reach Ningfan, the sun, moon and stars steel had already smashed into him, sending him flying away along with his sword. While he was flying, he was spurting out blood. He was actually severely injured by Ningfan in the first exchange of blows. Out of fear, Immortal Emperor Hai Kong directly fled. How would he still dare to save the 2nd prince of the Dragon Horse clan? The Immortal Emperor of the Fei Yi clan let out a disdainful snort, as if he found Immortal Emperor Hai Kong's act of fleeing extremely shameful. The Fei Yi clan was a giant bird that lived in the sea. As soon as it spread its wings, It stirred up the waves and was about to use its divine ability to attack Ning Fan. At this moment, Ning Fan's ocean-defying sword arrived and cut off his left wing. The heavenly Magatama exploded along the wound, blowing up half of his body. Unfortunately, Ning Fan did not manage to hit the vital parts of his body. Otherwise, his entire physical body would certainly explode. A monster. The Fei Immortal Emperor was scared out of his wits by Ning Fan's sword. How would he still have the mood to laugh at Immortal Emperor Haikong? Ning Fan did not go after the immortal emperors of the Fei clan and Haikong clan. If he was not mistaken, he had already attracted the attention of all the immortal emperors of the 11 paths when he entered the Realm River in a hurry. A large number of immortal emperors were rushing towards this place. The Fei clan and Haikong clan were not the only ones. At this moment, even though Ning Fan's injuries had mostly recovered, the vital parts of his body were still being corroded by the holy of poison. If he is besieged by another 10 immortal emperors, he would certainly die in the Realm River. Ning Fan knew the severity of the situation. He would not fight the other foreign races with his current severely injured body. He only planned to end the battle as soon as possible and capture the second prince. When the second prince saw Haikong clan and Fei clan being defeated in a single exchange, the hope that he had just had was extinguished. He knew that he probably would not be able to wait for the other immortal emperors to rescue him. After his dragon tail was cut off by Ning Fan's sword, he made up his mind and decided to detonate the fate-severing sword in his mouth to kill Ning Fan. He was a mutated true spirit. Even if a mid-grade innate magic treasure explodes, he would only suffer severe injuries but would not die. Ning Fan, on the other hand, was different. Even though his external injuries were almost healed, his internal injuries were still being corroded by the holy of poison. If he is blasted by the explosion of the innate magic treasure again, it was not impossible for him to die on the spot. Since you insist on chasing me, I will make you pay the price. Even if I will be severely punished by the great divine priest for destroying the fate-severing sword, I don't care anymore. Little Ning Fan die. Under the second prince's frenzied detonation, the body of the fate-severing sword began to turn fiery red like a soldering iron. In the end, it exploded violently with a loud bang. In just an instant, the water region of millions of li was flattened by the explosive power of the magic treasure. All the river water evaporated, and all the living beings of the water clan within the area perished. Ning Fan was also directly killed at the bottom of the dried-up water. Ha ha ha. In the end, I still killed you. This is the price you have to pay for chasing me. Foolish ant of the eastern heaven, now you know how powerful I am. The second prince's true spirit was weak, but he did not die from the explosion. Instead, he looked at the ruins of the water region and laughed maniacally. He finally killed Ning Fan. So what if Ning Fan is heaven-defying? He still lost to the Dragon Horse clan. Delightful, delightful. Have you become so weak that you can't see the difference between reality and illusion techniques? How sad. Release. Ning Fan took the initiative to help the second prince break the illusion technique. The fate-severing sword did not explode at all. Everything was just the second prince's imagination. It was all an illusion. The second prince's physical body, on the other hand, was completely destroyed by Ning Fan's sea-defying sword when he was bewitched by the illusion technique. However, even if his physical body exploded, he still could not wake up from the illusion technique. Even the pain could not wake him up. He was too weak. With his current strength, he could no longer break Ning Fan's illusion technique. Impossible. You're clearly dead. How are you still alive? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Ah! I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. Noisy. Ning Fan planted a restrictive spell on the second prince's mouth, which was screaming crazily. After sealing his cultivation base, he casually threw him into the profound Een world and imprisoned him. At this point, he had defeated the 10 immortal emperors of the enemy in a single battle. After that, he had even captured all the immortal emperors of the Dragon Horse clan. The true spirits of the 16 immortal emperors were all in his hands. It was very difficult to kill a single true spirit of the Dragon Horse clan. However, it seemed like he could easily kill all of them by combining all 16 true spirits. and using them to concoct the 16-heart pill. The pill concocted with the true spirits of the 16 immortal emperors of the Dragon Horse clan should be quite effective. Ning Fan removed his eternal true body and the cross-shaped halo. Then, he rode on the dark immortal cloud and left the bottom of the river at full speed. When the other immortal emperors of the foreign races chased after him, what they saw was Ning Fan destroying the second prince's dragon body with a single slash of his sword. They wanted to catch up with Ning Fan, but they could not catch up with his speed. On this day, the entire 11th water path fell into an unprecedented state of shock. On this day, the Taiyuan Pass was in an unprecedented state of shock. 10 immortal emperors and tens of millions of foreign races attacked the soaring cloud pass. In the end, they were completely wiped out by Ning Fan alone. Anyone who heard this news would be so shocked that their jaws would drop. When the news reached the divine palace at the bottom of the 6th water path, the great divine priest of the foreign races smashed the crystal table in anger. He had never expected that the small 11th water path would have such a heaven-defying immortal venerable, whose name was Ning Fan. Yes, Ning Fan. He could not help but admit that he had memorized this name deeply at this moment. With the identity of a second-level quasi-saint, he had paid unprecedented attention to a mere immortal venerable. In this battle, his two mid-grade innate magic treasures, the fate-severing sword and the sea-pacifying divine needle, were both in Ning Fan's hands. He could not wait to get out of the water immediately and head to the soaring cloud pass of the 11th water path to take back these two treasures. However, he could not do it. It was because the immortal sovereign's seal was still there, preventing quasi-saints from getting out of the water. Moreover, due to the fact that there were many immortal emperors coming out of the water recently, he did not have too many quotas for the immortal emperors under him to get out of the water in a short period of time. It was not just the 11th water path. Even the other water paths did not have many quotas left. All of them had been used up by the immortal emperors of the 11th water path on Ning Fan. Detestable. Detestable. This young man is just an immortal venerable, but he actually made me so anxious. He actually messed up my plan completely. The threat he poses is actually much greater than those trash in the Taiyuan Pass. No wonder the dark race would suffer losses in his hands. No wonder that old thing Bai Zhu also said that there was an immortal venerable in the eastern heaven who was very difficult to deal with. It turns out that they did not lie to me. I have underestimated this young man too much. White-robed Yama. Humph. What a white-robed Yama. One day, I will turn you into a dead Yama. Pass down my order. The white-robed Yama, Ning Fan, will be listed at the top of my Ziwei Galaxy's must-kill list. If I don't get rid of this young man, I won't be able to eat or sleep in peace. Whoever kills this young man, I will request the blood god to help him to advance to the quasi-saint realm. As long as they kill Ning Fan, they would get the chance to receive the blood god's bestowment and directly become a quasi-saint realm expert. How tempting was that? When the great divine priest's order spread across the eastern boundary river, countless experts of the foreign races were tempted. They wanted to take action immediately and claim Ning Fan's head to claim credit. Unfortunately, there were not too many immortal emperors in the 11th water path in such a short period of time. Unfortunately, quasi-saints could not get out of the water either. Therefore, even though these experts of the foreign races wanted to make a contribution, they could not gather an army of immortal emperors to get out of the water together with them. Besides, they did not dare to provoke Ning Fan recklessly. If they send too few immortal emperors, they would just be courting death. Fortunately, the great divine priest's order was still in effect. As long as they wait until the immortal sovereign's seal on the surface of the boundary river is completely broken, they could still get out of the water and besiege Ning Fan even if they did not have the quota. At that time, it would not just be a dozen or so immortal emperors besieging Ning Fan. It was highly possible that there would be tens of immortal emperors besieging Ning Fan. Even quasi-saints might join the fight. In that case, all they needed to do was to wait patiently. The day the immortal sovereign's seal is broken would be the day the white-robed Yama is beheaded. While the foreign races were shocked by Ning Fan's actions, countless people from the Taiyuan ferry were also sent to the Lingyun Pass. They wanted to get in touch with Ning Fan and understand the details of the battle on that day. Unfortunately, Ning Fan's injuries were too severe after the battle. He had already informed all the cultivators in the past that he was going into seclusion, and no one was allowed to disturb his recovery. Currently, Ning Fan's prestige was extremely high due to his series of battle achievements. His words were even more effective than the leader of the alliance. Since he said that he was going into seclusion, no one naturally dared to disturb him. Even Emperor Tsang and the others had repeatedly reminded the Lingyan Pass not to disturb Ning Fan's recovery. Everything must be done with Ning Fan as the top priority. As for contacting them, they could wait until Ning Fan's recovery is over. At this moment, everyone could see that Ning Fan would be the Eastern Heaven's most important bargaining chip in the upcoming chaos in the Realm River. Ning Fan's status as the strongest devil in Eastern Heaven had already been confirmed. No one doubted him. Moreover, some of them even called Ning Fan the strongest person below the quasi-saint realm. Ning Fan did not know about this. If he did, he would certainly reject this title. He knew that he was far from being the strongest person below the quasi-saint realm. What was there to be proud about killing a few immortal emperors? Even though the immortal emperors of the Realm River were stronger than the Eastern Heaven immortal emperors, they were much weaker compared to the real great ancient emperors. He did not forget the bitter battle with Black Rope. Black Rope was not an immortal emperor, but he was still not someone he could defeat. Black Rope was an ancient immortal king, and he was already so powerful. In this world, there were more ancient immortal kings and immortal emperors who were stronger than Black Rope. How could he be arrogant, the strongest person below the quasi-saint realm? He would get this title one day, but not now. The holy poison's injuries were far more troublesome than he had imagined. After all, it was the divine ability of a saint realm expert. Even though the power of that drop of saint poison was less than 10%, it still made Ning Fan feel unbearable pain. He could not really get rid of it. It was like maggots in his bones that were wreaking havoc inside his body. Even after exhausting all the means at his disposal, he was still unable to remove the saint poison. In desperation, Ning Fan had no choice but to seek help from the ancient country trading formation to find a solution to the holy poison in his body. If he didn't get rid of the saint poison soon, he would be killed by it sooner or later. His Taoist wants to buy the third step's detoxification spirit pill? Could it be that fellow Taoist has fought against a sage before? The person who was in charge of receiving Ning Fan was still the old man from the heaven-reaching cult. As soon as he heard that Ning Fan actually wanted to purchase such a high-grade pill, he was immediately astonished. Inwardly, he wondered about Ning Fan's true identity. Could he be a saint of some high-grade illusory dream world? Even if he wasn't a sage, he was probably an ancient emperor who could stand shoulder to shoulder with a sage. Otherwise, how could he have survived the poison of a sage? All of a sudden, the elderly man became even more enthusiastic towards Ning Fan. There was even a hint of reverence in his eyes. After all, existences at the level of a sage were also supreme beings even in the true world. Even if he was a disciple of the heaven-reaching cult, he would not dare to be disrespectful to such existences. Unfortunately, this elderly man did not know that Ning Fan was not a sage realm expert like he imagined. He was just poisoned by the sage poison due to certain reasons. Of course, Ning Fan would not be foolish enough to explain himself to the elderly man. The more highly the elderly man regarded him, the more convenient it would be for him to purchase items from the heaven-reaching cult. Logically speaking, the heaven-reaching cult would not sell pills that were too high-grade to the illusory dream world. However, if Ning Fan was in existence comparable to a sage realm expert, the elderly man could still give Ning Fan some privileges with his authority. Orders were dead while people were alive. In order to violate the purchase restriction and sell the third step's detoxification spirit pill to Ning Fan, this elderly man would have to bear a lot of pressure. However, when he thought about how he could befriend a third step expert with this matter, the pressure from the cult no longer seemed to be a problem to him. What was worth mentioning was that the price of the third step's detoxification spirit pill was extremely expensive. Ning Fan had used up all the heavenly Dao gold and silver he had, and even owed the heaven-reaching cult a few hundred taels of heavenly Dao gold in order to buy this pill. Ordinary people were not allowed to buy things from the heaven-reaching cult on credit. This elderly man had used up a lot of his connections to give Ningfan the privilege to buy the medicine on credit. Ningfan's personality was extremely cold. However, he felt a little grateful towards this elderly man who helped him. Fellow Taoist, thank you for your help. I will definitely repay your kindness, Ningfan said with a serious expression. Haha, business is business. This old man shall not be pretentious and accept your gratitude for the time being. If fellow Taoists can really come to the true world one day, I might come to your sect to ask for your help. I hope fellow Taoists won't reject my request at that time. True world? I might not necessarily go to the true world. Of course, if I have the chance to go to the true world, as long as fellow Taoists' request doesn't go against my principles, I will certainly not reject it. Even if I don't go, I will certainly think of some ways to repay the karma of today. You don't have to worry about this, fellow Taoist. Ningfan did not ask about the elderly man's identity. The heaven-reaching cult did not allow their disciples to reveal their identities to outsiders. If Ningfan had the chance to go to the true world, he would certainly have a way to find out the whereabouts of the elderly man and repay him. Unfortunately, he was really not sure whether he would go to the true world or not. Most likely he would have to think of other ways to repay the karma. Haha, who knows what will happen in the future? Who knows if fellow Taoists will really come to the true world? Let's not talk about this anymore. Is there anything else that fellow Taoist wants to buy? I still want to buy some ancient books that introduce different types of true spirits. These kinds of books aren't limited to our cult. I have a book called The Complete Explanation of the Chaotic Koan True Spirit. It is an encyclopedic book that was passed down from the Chaotic Koan Sacred Sect. It recorded most of the types of true spirits in the world since the first generation of the Chaotic Koan Sacred Sect. Of course, this kind of book will not mention the true spirits that are related to the taboo of heaven and earth. The price of this book is 200 gold ingots. It is not cheap. Are you sure that you want to buy it? If you are, I can apply to the cult to let you buy this book on credit. If that's the case, I'll have to trouble fellow Taoist. I'm sure that I want to buy this book. With the third step detoxification spiritual pill, it became much easier for Ningfan to treat the injuries caused by the holy poison in his body. It was a 10 transformations ancestral pill which was expensive. With the help of this pill, not only did Ningfan get rid of all the poison in his body in one go, but he also took the opportunity to devour the remaining holy poison in his body. This was a good item that was hard to come by. If he did not have the help of the 10 transformations ancestral pill, he would not be qualified to devour the holy poison at all with his current cultivation base. Now that he had taken the opportunity to devour the holy poison, his yin-yang poison cultivation base naturally improved tremendously. There were 3 levels to the cultivation of the palm position of the 27 yin-yang poison. Small completion realm, mid-completion realm and grand completion realm of the palm position. Among the 8 types of yin-yang that he had cultivated, only 4 of them had reached the small completion realm of the palm position: rain, dark, war and wood. As for the other yin-yang poison, they were not even at the small completion realm of the palm position. At most, they only possessed a trace of the power of the palm position. After devouring the holy poison, Ningfan's yin-yang poison broke through to the small completion realm of the palm position in one go, and was much closer to the mid-completion realm of the palm position. Among all of Ningfan's yin-yang poison, he became the 5th existence to attain the small completion realm of the palm position. In the future, if Ningfan encounters immortal emperors who attack with poison again, he would have a much easier time dealing with them. After his injuries were healed, Ningfan immersed himself in studying the complete explanation of the chaotic Koan true spirit for the next year. This book recorded the forms of tens of thousands of true spirits in the true world. Most of the records did not involve the great secrets of heaven and earth, but they were still very helpful to Ningfan. The reason why Ningfan bought this book was to find the records about the dragon horse true spirit, and find out how to concoct pills with it. According to the records in this book, the dragon horse true spirit was a rather unique type of true spirit. It could only be cultivated by brothers who were of the same mind and cultivated the true spirit together. Once the true spirit is successfully cultivated, it would be very difficult to kill all of the brothers who cultivated the true spirit without capturing them. If they could be captured, the greater the number of dragon horses who cultivated the true spirit, and the higher their cultivation base, the greater the benefits of the concocted pills. The 3-heart pill was concocted by more than 3 dragon horse immortal venerables. After consuming it, a mortal would become a thought fragmentation realm cultivator in a single step. The 7-heart pill was concocted by more than 7 dragon horse immortal kings. After consuming it, a mortal would become an immortal venerable in a single step. When an immortal venerable consumes it, their cultivation base would skyrocket by 1 level. The 16-heart pill was concocted by more than 16 dragon horse immortal emperors. After consuming it, a mortal would become an immortal king in a single step. When an immortal king consumes it, his cultivation base would skyrocket by 1 level. When an immortal venerable consumes it, his cultivation base would skyrocket by 1 level. When an immortal venerable consumes it, his cultivation base would skyrocket by 1 level. When an immortal venerable consumes it, he would directly break through to the 4th tribulation immortal king realm. When an immortal emperor consumes it, he would have a 30% chance of advancing by 1 level. When a quasi-saint consumes it, he would have a 5% chance of advancing by 1 level. Hiss. Ning Fan was shocked by the records of the 16-heart pill. He had imagined the wonders of the 16-heart pill, but he didn't expect it to be such a heaven-defying pill. If a demisage consumed it, there was a 5% chance that he would advance by 1 realm. If a second-stage demisage consumed it, wouldn't it be possible for him to directly become an ancient great cultivator? Although the probability wasn't high, it was enough for quasi-sages to fight over it. What if they won the lottery? Wasn't that like ascending to the heavens in a single step? Furthermore, this pill could even increase the chances of a cultivator breaking through to quasi-sage by 20%. Even with Ning Fan's personality, he was extremely tempted by this pill. When Ning Fan recalled that the Dragon Horse clan had exactly 16 immortal emperors, he could not help but suspect that this matter was not a coincidence. Instead, it was deliberately arranged by a certain supreme being in the Realm River. Perhaps the existence of the Dragon Horse 16 emperors was originally a material used by some supreme existence in the border river to refine pills. If that's the case, Ning Fan might have already offended this supreme existence by killing all of the Dragon Horse immortal emperors in one go. Forget it, if he offended her, then so be it. Was he ever afraid? He would first refine the 16 hearts pill and eat it. Whether he offended him or not, he would still have to rely on his own strength. The problem was, how was he going to concoct the pill? The 16 hearts pill was an emperor pill. There might not even be a pill refinement master at this level in the entire Eastern Heaven. Even if they had the materials to concoct the pill, no one had the confidence to concoct the pill. Fortunately, Ning Fan had imprisoned many Gold Core Realm 9th Revolution pill refinement masters in his incense flame world. If there are many Gold Core Realm pill refinement masters concocting the pill at the same time, and with the help of a secret Tao of pill, it was not impossible for him to barely concoct the 16 hearts pill. In the past, the old ancestor of the Silver Core Realm pill refinement sect dared to attempt to concoct the 10 transformations ancestral pill. Facts had proven that it was not impossible to succeed in concocting a pill that was above one's cultivation level. However, firstly, it was extremely difficult, and the success rate was low. Secondly, it would take a long time. Thirdly, the pills concocted by such trickery would not reach the perfect grade. It was already an extravagant hope for them to reach the excellent grade. Most of them would only reach the flawed grade. Ning Fan immediately felt a headache. There were 2 paths in front of him. One was to wait until his pill refinement mastery reached the Emperor pill grade, or to find an Emperor pill refinement master to concoct the 16 hearts pill. The other was to give up on the perfect grade and go for the next best option, which was to let the few Gold Core Realm pill refinement masters in the Incense Flame world try to concoct the 16 hearts pill refinement master. After much consideration, Ningfan finally decided to choose the second path. If he finds another Emperor Pill Refinement Master to concoct the pill, there would be a problem. Putting aside whether or not Ningfan could find a Pill Refinement Master of that level, Ningfan was only worried that the Pill Refinement Master would covet the 16 Hearts pill. The preciousness of this pill was enough to attract the greed of countless experts in the four heavens. It was better to avoid unnecessary trouble. Ningfan did not want all the quasi-saints in the four heavens to hunt him down just to concoct this pill. If he were to concoct the pill by himself, there would be another problem. He did not know how many years it would take for him to break through to the Emperor Pill Refinement realm. Now that the Eastern Heaven was in chaos, the more he improved his cultivation level, the more power he would have to protect himself. If his cultivation level was insufficient, and he died in the crazy revenge of the foreign races in the future, the so-called perfect grade 16 Hearts pill would become empty talk. Perfectionism was not a good thing in the cultivation world. It was just like the wild fruits by the roadside. They would never wait until the day they ripen before they are completely plucked. When a flower blooms, it should be plucked straight. Don't wait until there are no flowers and only the branches are plucked. In the incense flame realm, there were a total of 6 gold core realm pill refinement masters. All of them were reputable figures in the supreme pill sacred region. All of them were prideful people. However, in front of a peerless devil lord like Ningfan, they did not dare to be arrogant. Their attitudes were quite humble and respectful. As soon as they found out that Ningfan had called them over to concoct the 9 Revolutions Emperor Pill, the 6 pill refinement masters were eager to try. After all, if they could concoct a 9 Revolutions Emperor Pill, it would greatly improve their pill refinement techniques. As pill refinement masters, they were always willing to accept challenges. Besides, Ningfan also promised them that as long as they could successfully concoct this pill, he would set them free and allow them to return to the Supreme Pill Sacred Region when he visits it again in the future. As such, the 6 pill refinement masters were extremely focused on concocting the 16 Hearts pill. The only thing they were worried about was the difficulty of concocting the Emperor pill and the possibility of failure. At the same time, they were also afraid that Ningfan would not have the patience to wait for too long. Don't be afraid. In order to concoct this pill, I will lend you the immemorial lightning cauldron and the flaming lightning fire. With a mid-grade innate lightning cauldron and a lightning fire that was close to the mid-grade innate lightning fire, it won't take too long to concoct this pill. The success rate can also be guaranteed to a certain extent. Even if you fail in the end, I won't punish you. However, I won't give you the benefits that I promised you. As soon as Ningfan said that, the 6 pill refinement masters were overjoyed. With a mid-grade innate lightning cauldron and a fire that was close to the mid-grade innate lightning fire, they had at least 60 to 70% confidence that they could concoct the 16 Hearts pill within 10 years. 10 years was already the fastest they could go. Without such a high-grade cauldron and fire, they would need at least tens of thousands of years to concoct the 16 Hearts pill using only their own cauldron and fire. It's just 10 years. I can afford to wait. If that's the case, I'll wait for your good news. Don't worry, Master. Even if we have to risk our lives, we must concoct this pill. The 6 pill refinement masters secretly made up their minds. However, a success rate of 60 to 70% was not enough. In order to guarantee the success rate of the pill, they might have to do something that would destroy their own Tao of pill refinement to increase the success rate using a secret technique. Compared to freedom, their Tao of pill refinement could also be abandoned. No matter what, they must help their master concoct this pill in exchange for their freedom. Ningfan naturally would not wait 10 years in the Lingyun Pass for nothing. The 10,000 spirit blood that Immortal Emperor Slaughter obtained had further improved his divine physique. All of the innate dragon flames of the Dragon Horse Immortal Emperor were extracted by Ningfan and integrated into the flame of flame and lightning. After doing all these, Ningfan began to try to refine the 2 mid-grade innate magic treasures that he had just obtained. Currently, the water flooding bottle was already in a half-damaged state. He would not repair it. He had to wait until he returned to Eastern Heaven in the future and find Old Wu before he could repair it and use it again. The immemorial lightning cauldron was an auxiliary magic treasure. Without the water-flooding bottle, Ning Fan's only offensive innate magic treasure was left with the sun, moon and stars steel. In that case, refining the fate-severing sword and the sea-steadying divine needle was extremely significant, as they could replenish Ning Fan's lost combat power. Among them, the fate-severing sword was easier to refine. This sword was a single-target offensive magic treasure. Its destructive power was slightly weaker than the sun, moon and stars steel. However, this sword had an additional ability which allowed the wielder to block all deductions below the Sage Realm and cut off all the heavenly secrets. When Longonghua came out of the water with the fate-severing sword to ambush Ning Fan, the great emperor of machine-making did not manage to deduce the whole story. This was all thanks to the fate-severing sword. With the effect of the fate-severing sword that could cut off the heavenly secrets, Ning Fan's safety would undoubtedly increase significantly when he dives into the bottom of the Realm River in the future. Even a quasi-sage realm cultivator would have a hard time detecting his presence. Not long after, Ning Fan refined the fate-severing sword. What gave Ning Fan a headache was the sea-steadying divine needle. This item was still standing in the Lingyan Pass. Not to mention how heavy it was, it actually could not be kept into the space of the world treasure. Ning Fan really did not know how to keep this treasure. He had been trying to tame it for a few days, but all his attempts ended in failure. With no other choice, Ning Fan stood in front of the sea-steadying divine needle and sighed continuously. Sometimes he would mutter to himself, "If only this needle was a little smaller and lighter. If only it could be kept into the space of the world treasure. That would be even better." Unexpectedly, as soon as he uttered those words, a faint ancient demon light shot out from the rusty cracks of the sea-steadying divine needle. It was incomparably dazzling, and its brilliance reached the sky. "Master, please call me by my true name. I will make your wish come true. Master, please call me by my true name." Ning Fan actually heard the voice of the sea-steadying divine needle through the ancient communication ability. "What is your true name?" Ning Fan's eyes lit up as if he had found the key to tame the sea-steadying divine needle. "My true name is Rui Scepter. I am not complete. My true body is divided into 9 parts. This body is the 8th body of the Rui Scepter. Only those who call my true name can complete the process of taming me." Rui Scepter? As soon as this name appeared in the depths of Ning Fan's mind, the rust on the surface of the sea-steadying divine needle began to peel off piece by piece, revealing the unchanging divine light underneath. For a moment, the entire Lingyan Pass shook violently. The water of the border river was even more turbulent. It was disturbed by the power of the Rui Scepter. As the rust peeled off, the Rui Scepter continued to shrink from its original length of several hundred zhang. Gradually, it became only as tall as the eyebrow scepter. Ning Fan knew that the moment he called out its true name, he had already completed the process of taming it as its master. After the stick shrunk in size, its weight had also decreased by a lot. It was about the weight of 3 ocean-defying swords. Ning Fan still could not lift the Rui Scepter with one hand. However, if he wields it with both hands, he would be able to wield it with some difficulty. The weight of a single swing of the stick was enough to make a 6th tribulation immortal emperor cough out blood. If the power of the mid-grade innate magic treasure is taken into account, it would not be difficult for it to destroy the physical body of a 6th tribulation immortal emperor. Its power was much greater than the sun, moon and stars steel. Of course, with Ning Fan's current strength, if he exerts the full power of the Rui Scepter, his strength would be exhausted after 2 or 3 swings, and he would become so weak that his legs would turn to jelly. This stick was not something that he could wield freely at his current level. In terms of practicality, it was not as good as the sun, moon and stars steel. After it had acknowledged him as its master, he could now keep the Rui Scepter into the space of the world treasure at will. Storing this item was no longer a problem for him. Moreover, this Rui Scepter also had the ability of sea calming. Among the mid-grade innate magic treasures, there was no water element magic treasure that could compete with this treasure. Ning Fan did not immediately keep the Rui Scepter into the space of the world treasure. It was because he suddenly realized that after the Rui Scepter had acknowledged him as its master, some tiny light characters emerged on its surface. All of them were ancient characters. These characters were the ancient divine characters that were commonly used in the Purple Do Immortal region. After Ning Fan finished reading them, his expression changed all of a sudden. In my 6th dream, I watched Pangu create the heavens. In my 7th dream, I watched the butterfly defy the heavens. In my 8th dream, I watched the petrified ape wreak havoc in the heavens. This ape abandoned my devil sense and went against my will of life and death, unwilling to return to its original position. I tried my best to break the 8th dream. In the end, I lost my devil sense and only obtained the 9 needles. Seeing the needles was like seeing my own face. It was a pity. The name of this needle in my dream was originally the Rui Scepter Golden Cudgel. However, because the word golden cudgel was inauspicious, I abandoned it in the Western Mountain, and only left it with my will to subdue the 9 needles in the Immortal Sea and suppress the Immortal Sea Gate forever. Ning Fan could not help but be shocked. These characters actually emitted the unique chi of Immortal Sovereign Zido. This is obviously the handwriting of Immortal Sovereign Zido. Could it be that this treasure is something that Immortal Sovereign Zido once used? How could it have such a powerful background? Moreover, aren't there too many secrets hidden in these characters? Pangu create the heavens, the butterfly defy the heavens, and the petrified ape wreak havoc in the heavens. What do all of these mean? At the moment when Ning Fan subdued the sea-calming divine needle, the expression of the great divine priest in the 6th water divine palace suddenly changed. That stubborn iron that no one could subdue has actually been subdued by someone. She immediately pinched her fingers to calculate how Ning Fan subdued the sea-calming divine needle. Unfortunately, Ning Fan was carrying the fate-severing sword. Thus, the great divine priest could not calculate the specific process at all. He was not a deity that could communicate with the ancient times. Thus, he could not hear the true name of the sea-calming divine needle. He was not the owner of the Rui scepter. Thus, he could not see the characters that Immortal Sovereign Zido left on the scepter. He only knew that there were a total of 9 sticks of this scepter since the ancient times. Since the beginning of the history of the Purple Do Immortal region, none of them could be subdued by cultivators other than Immortal Sovereign Zido. Ning Fan was actually able to do something that countless cultivators of the true world could not. Thus, the great divine priest's fear towards Ning Fan had reached an unprecedented level. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.